currently 5 minutes past 10, and the first item is the appointment of the chair. Do we have any nominations from the floor, please?
I'd like to nominate Councillor Mandy Porter.
Second.
Thank you. Mandy Porter, chair of this meeting. Thank you.
Just move across.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks everybody, and thanks for your support over the last year as chair. It's been a busy year, and hopefully it'll be just as interesting and busy this year, because I like to be kept busy. So, so the next agenda item, on agenda item number 3, we just need to finish those appointments first, and then I'll go back to the top of the agenda. So is to appoint a vice chair of the committee. Excuse me. So again, open it up to anybody for any nominations for appointment of vice chair.
I nominate Councillor Peter Grogan.
Yeah, I'll second that. Any other nominations? No, are we all happy to appoint Councillor Grogan? Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. The next one is appointment of representation substitute representative to South-Tees Development Corporation Audit and Governance Committee. Again, do we have any nominations for that?
I nominate Councillor Paul Sullivan to be my substitute on there, who's authorised me to.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Do we have somebody to second that? Yeah. Seconded. Are we happy to appoint? Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you. The appointment of representative and substitute to the Hartlepool Development Corporation Audit and Governance Committee. Again, do you have any appointments? Any sort of nominations?
Sorry, yeah, just for the minutes, can we have the appointment of the member to STDC as well? Not just the sub.
Oh, right, okay, yeah. For the first one, sorry.
Yes.
Yes, yeah, so, yeah. So was that the substitute that you nominated?
Paul Sullivan will be the substitute. I'd like to nominate myself as the member.
Yeah. I'll second that for the Hartlepool.
South-Tees.
Sorry, South-Tees Development Corporation, getting muddled up today.
Have you done this job before?
I think I might have done, yeah. Do you know what? The problem is I haven't got the right glasses on, sorry. So if I do make mistakes, right, I've lost my glasses, so I've got to admit that I am struggling with my glasses. So I've gone back to an older pair, so I do apologise at the minute. So yeah, you know when you're like, oh, yeah, so I do apologise. So keep me right if I do today. So are we happy to appoint Councillor Grogan of STDC? Yeah, thank you. Have you got that one then? Yeah.
Sorry, I need to make sure.
Oh, right, okay.
It's not on my machine, so I can't put her in. She's not sure. Yeah.
Thank you. So on to the next one. So is the Hartlepool Development Corporation. So the representative for the Hartlepool Development Corporation. Any nominations?
So I'm not sure if we've already done that. I should know.
Right.
But so I think that can I get back to you on that one?
Have we had anything from
It's
who
not.
the current one is?
Right.
Lynn?
For the Audit and Governance Committee, it is a TVCA Audit and Governance Committee appointment. Not a Hartlepool Borough Council appointment.
Yeah.
So it's somebody from this
From
committee
here.
that will
Yeah.
sit on it.
Yeah.
So we agree who that will be and who the sub will be.
Yeah.
But as you're already a member on
Yes,
the board,
that's
as
right.
there's no
Stops
legislation that
Yeah.
stops that, it's not seen as good practice to have
No.
you on the ANG
Well,
and
that's why I
the board. So
Yeah.
it would need to be a different member from the committee.
Who's the existing person? I think.
It was Councillor Mosbody,
Oh, right, okay. Yeah.
but he wasn't a member
But
of
he
the
wasn't a member of the board, which
Yeah.
I am
Yeah.
at the moment.
Right.
Who knows?
So have we got anybody who would like to put themselves forward for that role from this committee?
We're quite nice.
You're selling it well, Brenda.
If we can get through passport control, it'll be fine.
Can I not be deferred till the next meeting then, just obviously for some clarification on behalf of Hartlepool?
Will that prevent anything in terms of the Development Corporation?
When's the HDC
When's the
next
meeting?
meeting?
Again, I should know that.
It's next week, the next stage.
Board, not
Yeah.
ordinary governance.
Right.
So
The board meeting's next week.
So can that be deferred then till, when is their next HDC AG meeting?
there isn't one booked in at the moment.
There isn't?
No.
So that
Right, so
could be
we could
potentially.
defer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do we want to defer that one, and I assume people will also, unless anybody's got to put themselves forward for the substitute side of it. If not,
I believe we should defer both positions until
defer both.
until
Yeah.
it's clarified over on Hartlepool side, I believe.
Yeah, no, that's fine. We'll do that. Everybody agreed? Yeah, thank you. So the next appointment is for the representative and then the substitute representative to the Middlesbrough Development Corporation Audit and Governance Committee. Any nominations?
Can we have Nicky Walker as our member and me as our sub, please?
Thank you.
As
Any other nominations?
That-
No? Are we happy to nominate both those as substitute and as the representative? Nicky Walker is the representative, yeah. And yourself, councillor, as the substitute.
Perfect.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for those. That one was an easy one, wasn't it? We'll get the other one there, I'm sure. Right, so we'll go back to the beginning of the agenda now. So agenda item 1, any apologies for absence at all? Anybody?
The Vice Chair has given apologies.
No.
Oh, it's we need to appoint Vice Chair. We can do it.
We've appointed we've got Councillor Brogan is Vice
Sorry, I
Chair.
do apologise.
Yeah.
I was running a bit late, so I just called in just in case. So.
Have you got them all in there? Yeah.
Yes, I've got it.
written them down.
Yeah. So agenda item number 1, any apologies for absence from anybody at all?
We got apologies from Andrew Evans, Councillor Walker, and we have Councillor Ewan representing, and Councillor Mazin, we have Councillor Evans representing.
Thanks, Elaine. Anybody got any others? No? Thank you very much. And just a reminder as well that I'll just sort of welcome, because there are a couple of different faces around the table today as well, so welcome to the meeting, Councillor Harrison and Councillor Ewan, and others. I think we've got a few people online as well. Can everybody online hear us? Yeah. Yeah, so thank you. So just to point out as well that there's no planned fire alarms today, and if it does sound, you need to go to the exit the building as swiftly as possible, and TVCA staff members will direct you to the nearest and safest exit point as well. So just as a reminder, thank you. Agenda item number 2, do we have any declarations of interest at all from anybody? No? Thank you. If we do have any, please just feel free to bring them up as we go through the meeting if there is anything that becomes relevant as we proceed. Agenda item number 3 we've already covered off. So we are on to agenda item number 4, which is the minutes and the action tracker. And that's to approve a record of the minutes from the meeting held on the 20th of February. Is that the right date?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's all right.
Yeah. Anybody got any questions on those? Yeah.
Can I just ask, Chair? Obviously, we've got the action tracker here, and
Yeah.
it's been ongoing. We've got things from September. I know there are sort of relevant, but is there anything that's proceeding? We've only got about 3 items that are due to be completed this year, December. 3 items in December. Is there anything else to be added to that tracker? It just seems very threadbare considering a lot of it's been done. If you see the majority have all been done in 2025, there's about 3 items for
2026.
Yeah, even
Yeah.
the ones in May 26 have been completed.
Do you want to comment?
Yeah, well, the action tracker really relates to our meetings. So if there are any actions agreed at this meeting that need to be delivered, then they'll be added to that action tracker. It just means we're being super efficient,
Yeah.
and we are delivering, so it's good news.
Right, okay.
Anybody got any other questions on the action tracker at all? Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Councillor.
Oh, sorry, yeah. I just wondered what was happening with the Grant Thornton report. I'm sorry, I'm on here as someone I didn't get a chance to look through the papers for the inquiry meeting. Maybe it went there, did it?
Thanks. I think that'll be covered, isn't it? Joy, will you be covering that off as part of yours in today's meeting about Grant Thornton report? Somebody's asked.
No, I wasn't going to. I was just going to give a brief update on 25-26.
Right. Thanks.
I can certainly come to the next meeting.
Yeah. Do we want to bring that to the next meeting?
Yes.
I agree.
Yeah. Thank you.
I think it would be really good because we're still waiting for the final report to come through. So I
Yes.
think what would be good, and we've got PwC advice and report as well. So I'd like to get those in final form,
Yes.
and then I can circulate those around to the committee and with an explanatory cover report as well.
Yeah. I think that would be useful. Yeah. Yeah. Councillor Gordon.
Can we potentially ask for them to attend this meeting either online or in person, just to give them basically from the horse's mouth themselves exactly how it goes, you know, how their report is being.
Absolutely. I'm sure that'll be fine.
Right, thank you.
I can ask anyway.
Yeah, that's all we can do, just
Yeah,
ask just so we can hear it from their words, and it's sometimes things can get lost in translation or in a conversation.
Yeah. No, I think that would be
Yeah, no, I
really
agree.
useful. Yeah. Thank you. Any other questions on the action tracker at all? No. Thank you. I'll just go back to Piano. So I think we're up to page, let me just check there's another one. Page 12. Just check. Something on page 12. Yeah, it's all part of it together, isn't it? Yeah, that's fine, thank you. Agenda item number 5, which is the Constitution update, and that's to receive a report from yourself. I think, Joe, I've got down? That's correct. Yeah, contract procedure rules. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Over to yourself, Joe. No, it's
Thank you for taking that order. So at the last informal meeting, I think our senior procurement officer took the committee through the detail of the change to the contract procedure rules. I think you asked some very important pertinent questions at the last informal meeting. So I'm not a procurement expert, so I'm not planning to go through the detail of them, but just to remind the committee again more formally, the CPRs were updated to ensure compliance with the Procurement Act 2023. With a much greater focus on transparency and the delivery of value for money. They do now provide a single sort of procurement process end-to-end framework for all of our external expenditure, and broadly they're designed to ensure fair competition, legal compliance, value for money, transparency, accountability, but more importantly to embed social value and economic growth. We did also take this to Cabinet, we mentioned this to Cabinet alongside the new procurement strategy, so the two now dovetail quite nicely together. But happy to take any high-level questions that the committee would like to ask, or I can defer and take detailed questions away for the senior procurement officer to answer by email if that's okay.
Thank you, Joe. Thanks for the update there. Any questions? Councillor Ewan. Thank you.
It's just one thing, I think you need a correction to them. Paragraph 37.3 says a period of at least 8 working beginning. So should that be 8 working days?
Yeah, I think that was picked up last time, wasn't it? Apologies, you may have just got the same set, but thank you for spotting that. But I think that was picked up last time. I think in the final version they've now been amended, but I will double check that for you, Councillor.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Any other questions, Councillor Gordon?
Yeah, just a quick one. On page 48 of the pack, on 47.1, it speaks about contract performance and monitoring. Obviously, it speaks of the different sections: A, compliance, specifications, contract costs, user satisfaction, and risk management. Does reputational damage be considered under the risk management part, or should that be a totally separate item as well? You know, obviously, or because it says there, or can it be deemed by the monitoring officer at the time, or can we cancel the contract depending on reputational damage? So say for instance we take on a company and then all of a sudden there's a massive scandal around that company we don't want to be associated with. Can the MO decide to cancel that contract?
Thanks. Do you want to come in tonight on that one? Or?
Yeah, just to say we would need to take legal advice on that, because if you if we were to cancel a contract, there may well be penalties, so it's important that members are aware of the risks involved in doing that. That's not to say that it's not possible to do. Anything is possible, but there will be risks attached to that, and we would hope that there would be continuous contract monitoring, so we would highlight those potential risks before they actually occurred, and would make sure that there were mitigations in place. And many contracts have what they call break clauses, which means you have an opportunity to stop the contract at those particular points when there is a break clause.
Thanks for that, Jeanette. Yeah, I think it's a valid point what you raised in terms of that. Obviously, we do need to make sure that we've got some sort of means to mitigate anything like that. So it sounds so that they're in the contract detail of the actual contract. So thank you.
Can I just follow up on that, please?
Certainly.
So would there be like a risk management table or something type of thing in place, or depending on company, would that fall under Angela as part of her remit with the risk, or would that still fall under the monitoring officer then?
May I come in on that one?
Yes, certainly, Jo.
Sorry, yeah, so there's a couple of things I think there. I think the one thing I would say is when we're considering risk, so the risk management framework that Angela looks after, we think of every risk in terms of whether it's financial, health and safety, legal, and reputational is one of the areas we always consider when we do our risk assessments and our risk management. So reputational risk is embedded in everything that we do to mitigate that. I think the other thing worth mentioning is whenever we sign any of our contracts, there is a requirement for them to adhere to our own policies. So it's important that the TBC has the policies that it wants to prevent reputational damage. So there is always an embedded and inherent clause within the contract. They must comply with our relevant policies. Whether that's anti-fraud, anti-breeder, whatever those are, but there will always be a requirement for them to comply with our policies. Sorry, Angela, I didn't realise you were sitting there. I do apologise.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, go on, Angela.
I was just going to follow up just to say as well, so obviously each contract's owned by a project programme, so they're managed at that level. Obviously, if there was any trends or any escalations that would come up, it would come up, but they're managed by the individual project programme lead, whoever owns that particular procurement.
But that must go to a scale of someone must be the senior responsible person on behalf of the authority to action, or the action, like obviously like I was suggesting, usually the MO would be the last line before anything else, I would imagine. Is that still the case? Or if they had any issues, they would go up the scale?
Yeah. And there's regular monitoring of the risk register by the executive leadership team as well.
Okay.
And then 3 statutory officers, so the head of paid service, the director of finance and the monitoring officer meet weekly. So any risks are discussed weekly, and we actually meet more frequently if required. We can have an emergency meeting in statutory offices as well.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions on the contract procedure? Yes, Councillor Evans.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Apologies if I kind of repeat or anything. Just to follow on from that, the report itself mentions a lot about contracts being established, but there's very little about performance and how the performance is actually monitored to see whether those who we've provided contracts with are actually adhering and delivering those services. So it's just a question around what are we doing to mitigate that in the sense of monitoring that performance to ensure that those we give the contracts to are actually adhering to the terms and actually undertaking those roles. Thank you.
Thank you. Come back on that, yeah?
May I come in, Chair? May I respond to that, Chair?
Yes, certainly, Jo. Yeah. Or Angela, yeah.
Thank you. So again, I referenced that we took a procurement strategy to Cabinet, which was approved in March. We had some pillars within our procurement strategy, and one of the pillars was in relation to contract management. We know that contract management hasn't been our strength in the past, and so we have got various work streams within that overall pillar to strengthen our contract management. Clearly, when we set the contracts, it's really important for us to have performance indicators in there, and certainly some key performance indicators that we must comply with. We must make sure that those performance meetings take place regularly, procurement will be supporting the individual directorates with their contract management, but it must be done by those responsible for that contract, because they will understand the service or goods that etc. that are being delivered. So it's important that the directorate hold those contract management meetings. But procurement are going to hold their hand certainly during 26-27 to make sure those meetings take place regularly, that all new contracts, we make sure we've got the right PIs and KPIs in there, that when we set those there is clear measure, how we're going to measure those, that's really clear. And then procurement will almost be doing, being the policing of that to make sure that they are actually taking place, that there's proper notes from it. And if there is any action to be taken, that action is then followed up. So we've got a really, really clear plan. It's a really good point, and thank you for that, because it's certainly been an area of not strength of ours that we really, really want to strengthen up in 26-27.
Thanks for that, Joe. It sounds as though there has been some work done around that then too, because we were aware that obviously that was an area of focus really, and it's good to hear that things have been sort of put in place to mitigate some of that in the future, and that there are senior officers there who will, monitor those procurement contracts effectively, won't they? And it sounds as though those measures have been put in place, so I think it's just a case of making sure that that continues throughout this year then, isn't it? And that any issues that do arise are dealt with through that formal process that is now in place. And obviously, there are things like contract modifications in this detail here, as well as the termination details within the document. So I think there is some really good things within that to sort of look at anything if there are any issues that arise over the course of the year. So thank you for the work that's been done around that. Do we have any other questions or comments on that one at all? No. Thank you very much. So I think it was just check if it was just for noting. Sorry, just having to go back a little bit. Yeah, so it was the recommendation was to review the updated contract procedure rules and approve for inclusion in the authority's constitution and published accordingly. So are we happy to approve recommendations? Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you. So the next agenda item is agenda item number 6, which is the annual statutory accounts update. And this is for myself, Joe.
Yeah, thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Just a verbal update from me today.
Yeah.
Obviously today is the day that we are due to publish all of our entities' accounts for 25-26, and we're currently on course to do that. I think it's probably just worth saying to members that whilst we're not in a position yet to draw a close on 23-24, 24-25, clearly a lot of the material items and matters in those years we've had to take the external advice on. We have had, as we said, draft advice through. We have made changes as a result of that draft advice, but some of that advice has been concluded very late. Clearly though, we need to make sure that we have got the closing balances materially correct for 23-24 and 24-25, because they obviously form the opening balances for 25-26. So it's just worth the committee knowing that whilst we may not be focusing on 23-24, 24-25, it is important still that I'm broadly happy that the opening balances of 25-26 are materially correct as far as as far as we can at this stage. And obviously I'm working closely still with Claire and Claire at EY and Mark to conclude those prior years. We've had to park that a little bit in the last week to 10 days just to focus on 25-26, but I'm hoping that Claire and Mark and I will meet again and start to pick that up and progress with those as we can to conclude the financial statements. But yeah, it was just a verbal update today for the committee.
Thank you, Joe, for that. Can I open it up to any questions or comments for Joe? Yes, Councillor Harrison.
Thanks, Wendy. I don't know whether this works.
Yes, it's on, I think. Yeah, it is, yeah.
Hiya, Joe.
Hi.
I can't quite get my head round the fact that you're working on 25-26, but 23-24, 24-25 are still in the background. Can you just clarify how that works? If you haven't done 23-24, 24-25, how can you do 25-26?
Yeah, and it is a really good question, and it is a difficult one. So when we say those have not been closed, obviously they've not been closed in terms of an audit opinion, not signed those, and we've not, EY have not issued their completion certificate, so we're not able to move forward formally with those. However, we have been working in the background to revise those accounts from the draft set that were published last year, and to work through with Mark and Claire the material matters that are arising from those, and therefore if they are then materially correct in terms of those transactions, then we've got more confidence on 25-26. There is always the risk that in further conversations with Claire and Mark, there may still require to be further adjustments to 23, 24, 24, 25. So we have submitted revised accounts, and we're trying to do that as fast as possible. But some of these matters are quite complex, and it requires the interpretation of accounting standards to some unusual and unique transactions and relationships. So it's not been easy. There is a chance that those opening balances for 25, 26 will still need to be adjusted as EY conclude their work and we come to an agreement on those prior years. But we have to publish today, to the best of sort of my knowledge and belief today, as far as we've got today. And I'm satisfied that, as you know, from what we know today and the work that we've done, we're okay with the opening balances, but that doesn't mean that they won't necessarily change. I'm hoping not. I'm hoping materially they're right. But until we've concluded those years and Claire is happy or satisfied with explanations and how we have revised the accounting treatment for matters, there is always the risk they could change. But I'm hoping that that is lower risk now than it was before.
I hope so, Jo. I mean, I appreciate that you inherited this, and you know, I believe you've worked very hard to try and get us where we are. But I do think that I just do worry for that because you've kind of had to publish today, that other things have got missed in getting there. And would it not have been a better idea to postpone the publishment of the publishing of this, in order to get the other bits in place? I mean,
George, it's a good point. I mean, it is a statutory requirement, so we only miss that statutory deadline if we absolutely have to.
Right.
I think it's a good point, but I think where we are at the moment is we've taken sufficient advice on the material matters. It has been external, independent advice both from PwC and Grant Thornton on those material matters. And therefore, in terms of what more could we do, you're absolutely right, and that, you know, there is always the risk that something has been missed. But in terms of I call them the big ticket items, but that's my own term. In terms of the big ticket items, we've taken the necessary advice, we've followed that advice, and we've made adjustments based on that advice. And I think, you know, at this stage, that's sort of the best I can do. 25-26 activity, there is nothing new or materially significantly difficult around 25-26. The combined authorities transactions have been pretty stable, as has STDC. So as long as we have got the accounting right for those complex transactions and arrangements that were set up in those prior years, then materially they will be correct. But there is, as I said, there's just that chance. But I think broadly, I mean, you know, I guess it's my call at the 11th hour, you know, as to whether I'm comfortable to publish those. But I think taking everything into account and the work that's been done and the advice that's been commissioned, I think we're at a stage where we can publish. Now, when you publish draft accounts, that doesn't mean that there might not be changes thereafter in the course of the audit work that's undertaken. But I think based on the knowledge and the advice we've received to date, I think I'm fairly comfortable that we will publish today.
right. Okay. Thanks.
But it's not without risk, and it's a good point. It's not without risk.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jo, for that. Anybody else got any other questions to Jo at all? Jo, I think what Brenda said is obviously a valid point, isn't it? And obviously, you know, we're not saying at this stage that there may not be some changes down the line, but from what you've said there, you have sought advice on that. And I suppose you're saying that to publish them based on the knowledge as of now, you're comfortable in doing so with that. Obviously, and like you say, you have to be that person to be comfortable with them at the end of the day, isn't it? Because it does come down to you to do that. So you've obviously said to the committee that you're comfortable in doing so today in that, and obviously you've sought that advice independently as well. So do we have any questions or comments from anybody else at all?
May I come back to you?
You can,
Just one
absolutely,
point on
yes.
that.
I've got, yeah, and then I'll bring in another member. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, and I think the other thing as well is I think it is a really good point, because if I felt that by the end of the day in my final reviews that I felt that they were not a good quality set of accounts, and I think Mark has also supported me on this one, Claire, it is probably better not to publish if I'm not happy that they're a good quality set of accounts. Rather than to publish and to not be good quality. So I think, I will make that call today. We're doing our very best to do that. But it is absolutely a good point. And I think in terms of not publishing today, I think I'll bring in either Stephen or Claire, but in terms of repercussions of that, obviously MHCLG will not be happy with me for not publishing today. I think given the circumstances leading up to this and the very late conclusion of advice on some very complex transactions, I think there's potentially a good conversation to have with MHCLG on this. But as I said, I just want to make the final. I want to get us in a position where we can publish today, which we should be very shortly, and then we'll need to make that final decision really.
Yeah. Thanks, Jo.
That's reassuring, thanks, Jo.
Yeah, thank you. I've got Ian who wants to come in as a member. Thank you.
Just
Ian.
a question on the prior year accounts. So can we get any type of commitment in terms of dates when you think those will be finalised and published?
So the prior years, or this year?
The prior years, Jo, yeah.
Yeah, prior years, obviously it depends on Claire and Mark and us responding to all the various queries that they raise and getting back to us timely and us to come into an agreed position. We are working through with them. I think we would dearly love to conclude matters at the July audit committees if we possibly could. I think from our perspective we would be very close to well, certainly from my perspective, I'm very close to being able to, say I'm happy to sign those, but clearly it's then down to Claire and Stephen and Iwan or generally whether or not they're in a position to conclude their audit and issue their opinion, but I'm happy to hand over to either Stephen or Claire now.
Thank you. Any comments from anybody? Claire? Oh, you're on mute, Claire. Oh no, go on, yeah, you're alright.
I managed to get myself up, thank you, Chair.
Yeah.
I think from our perspective, we've got the single entity accounts we are working through, the draft advice that George shared with us, and we have raised some queries. I think probably the biggest thing that I would say we're still waiting for is the group financial statements, because we signed them as a whole, so clearly we need the group financial statements alongside the single entity, and kind of the timing of when we receive those will impact the timing of when we can work through.
May I just come back on that one, Chair?
Yes, certainly.
The conversations I've had with Mark and Claire is at the moment I am loath to do group accounts until they are happy with the single entity accounts, because otherwise we're consolidating the group that may then be subject to revision in single entity, and then you've got to redo the consolidated set. So my view, and we can pick this up, Claire, when we next meet, but my view was let's make sure that you're happy with the accounting on those major transactions within the single entity, and once you're broadly happy with the accounting for those, then we will consolidate. Because if there is still an EY view on a different accounting treatment for those material matters, then there seems little point consolidating until we've got that. I mean, we'll be able to give you the consolidated fairly easily. That's not the issue. I think the issue for me is it almost seems inefficient to consolidate if we're not happy with a single entity in the first place.
I think
I'm happy to change the approach.
Yeah, no, and I think as well, isn't it? So, and I do understand that approach, but I think, as you say, we're still on draft advice, and we've raised some queries on the draft advice that we looked at. So I guess, maybe that's the first step, is that now through the 25-26 management, through the 25-26 financial statements, they can look at our query on those initial transactions and then work through. But just to be clear, the committee's a bit of a process we need to go through. So my gut reaction is, given we're approaching holiday time, things July probably feels a bit optimistic, if I'm honest, but we'll work through closely with management and agree a timetable.
Thanks. Claire, can I just ask if there obviously are still some things to come for TVCA to come back to you on. can I just ask that you have got the capacity to deal with those at your end, and that you will be able to support and produce those if we were to get those across to you?
Yeah, I mean, we do have a team. Clearly, we have a team working on the things, but I think we've talked about, we've had teams at various points which we've redeployed, but we do have to see a lot of this will be dealt with by the senior audit team rather than more junior members, and we do have capacity in our portfolios to pick this up as soon as it comes through.
And can I just ask, Claire, what is it that you are awaiting from us? Because I mean, obviously I've had updates as things have progressed and things, and I'm not aware of what those are. I was just wondering if you could clarify what it is you're waiting for.
So we raised some initial questions on some of the accounting papers and some other matters that we went back to management a few weeks ago, but I think they've been prioritising the production of the 25-26 financial statements, so I understand that they'll pick those up quite quickly. There have been other matters that have been brought to our attention in the past couple of weeks that we just need to work through what the implications are, matters that probably should have been brought to our attention several months ago, so we're just working through the implications of those. But in the annual governance statements as well, so clearly once management comes to both the financial statements and the overall position, we'll need the final annual governance statements for the entity for those years, as well as the group financial statements. So there's a bit to work through.
Yeah, and I think, Chair, if I can just come in to supplement that, I think the starting point, as Claire talked about and as Joe referenced, is that management have obtained advice, independent advice on some of the more complex accounting treatments that go back to the 23-24 financial statements. We've raised some queries on that advice. Management have gone back to obtain updated independent advice. As Joe indicated, that's in draft. So that management need to work through with those advisors to produce finalised accounting advice. That then needs to be provided to us. We need to review that and audit that advice, make sure that we're comfortable with that, and then consider what the implications are for the accounting transactions. So as I say always, then an audit is a two-stage process. The financial statements need to come first and all the supporting working papers, and then the auditors can complete the audit. Until we have updated financial statements that reflect the accounting advice, then we can't conclude the audit, and that's kind of the position that we're in at the moment. And hence why, to Claire's point, very happy, and we'll work with Joe and colleagues to agree a timetable. But given that tomorrow is the 1st of July, and we don't have the updated accounting advice received by officers, I think setting an aspiration for July to come back to an audit committee with finalised 23-24, 24-25 financial statements, when we still also don't have the group financial statements, and I respect the principle that Joe is working to, and that makes sense at that level. But also importantly, that we have raised some material matters with management more recently, as Claire referenced, and that is going to take time for officers to work through and then for us to be comfortable. So hence there's a number of different factors impacting and continue to impact the overall timetable, which are external to us as auditors.
And can I just ask, because obviously one of the questions that I said there was about if we were to come back to you, do you have the capacity to deal with these? Because obviously I've raised this before and I have concerns around, even if we did provide that information to you, are you going to be prepared to sign those off when they come to you? Because I just need for our reassurance for this committee that if we do provide all of that, you are going to be able to proceed and get that pushed through and completed as soon as possible, or what is your position on that? Because obviously the concern is that TVCA could do all of this work, work through all of those, but every time we seem to near enough get to that point, then you come back with something else. And I think that's my concern, is that Joe and the team have done such a lot of work to get a lot of this over the line and back to you, but every time we get to that point, or we're just about to think we're there, you then come back with something very late in the day. So I do have concerns that seems to be a bit of a pattern coming back. So I just wondered if you could provide any update or reassurance to the committee that that's not going to continue to be the case, or provide us some guidance on that, really.
Yeah, sure, very happy to provide some assurance there. So as Claire indicated, we have a dedicated team for the audit. We've had that team since the outset of the audit. because of the non-delivery of financial statements and working papers, and then some of the fundamental issues that we've identified going back a number of years, we've had to redeploy that team a number of times. And as Claire has indicated, we are ready to complete the work that's necessary. Just to correct the public record, Chair, you indicated that you're aware that we have raised queries late or words to that effect.
Yes.
I take a very different view on that.
Right, okay.
The audit process is iterative by its very nature, and when management provide information to us, we look at that, and we have sought to do that on a timely basis throughout and engage proactively and constructively with Joe and the team, and I believe that we've done that and we'll continue to do that. And so I don't believe that we have raised queries late in the process. We've raised queries at an appropriate point when we've been provided with information and completed a review of that information. So I think that's a very important point just to place on record.
Thanks. I think I was coming from the value for money issue, that where we got the 92 landed very late in the day prior to a meeting, and that seems to have been a bit of a pattern at times that seems to have happened, which gives the organisation very little time to respond and get those through in a timely manner back for those meetings and dates really. And I think that's where I was coming from, was those 90 plus queries or whatever it was in terms of the value for money arrangements.
Yeah, and again, happy to comment on that. I think it's fair to say, and we've highlighted with officers, that we have a number of significant risks from a value for money perspective for the authority that we have identified and that we are working through. Again, we've been working on that for a significant period, and part of the challenge is being able to obtain documents and supporting evidence because of the record keeping within the authority, and Joe and the rest of the team have been very accommodating on that, and a number of matters predate current senior officers. Again, just to correct the narrative here, of those queries that we raised, not all of them are new. A number of those have been raised previously, and they were re-raised because we were still waiting on responses to those. I think the number of questions that we have asked is symptomatic of the risks that we see around a number of different value for money aspects, which we're working through and will continue to work through. But again, because of the iterative nature, I don't believe that those were raised late in the day. They were raised as part of the ongoing audit process, and very much some of them are linked to some of the accounting treatment that's reflected within the financial statements. So again, the timing of the raising of some of those were linked to some of those transactions, but they were then starting to become clearer within the updated financial statements, and as a result of some of the accounting advice which officers have received.
Thank you for that, Stephen. So basically, just in relation, just to clarify then, so you're saying if we can get those issues and everything back to you, you've still got the capacity to deal with those at your end at this stage? Yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah, thank you. Joe, I think you've got your hand up there, just to come back in. Yeah, thanks.
Yes, please. Yeah, it was actually Stephen's point before, but
yeah,
just to make the committee aware, whilst Mark has raised some matters in relation to the advice that's been given, as it stands at the moment, we've gone back. That advice will not change from our last conversations with our external advisors. The advice will not change, and therefore, at this point in time, whilst Mark has raised some queries about why the advice has been given and why we're doing things, that doesn't necessarily mean we are going to change it. And at this point in time, and I've literally just double checked with the team to make sure, but at this point in time, we are not proposing to change any of that accounting, and the advice will come out in the draft form that's in, will come out in final form. But we can obviously, we do need to have a proper call with Claire and Mark to just close that off, but we're not anticipating the external advice changing.
Thanks for that update, Joe. Thank you. Do we have any other questions or comments for anybody? Councillor Innes, yeah.
Thank you, Chair. Just a very brief point in listening to the discussion there, Steve, Claire and Joe. One of the constant themes we seem to keep getting is information isn't coming forward. We as a committee will get it at the next meeting, then at the next meeting. There just seems to be where things seem to, I don't want to say slip, but it just seems that things are getting kicked in the long grass. Whether we need to have some form of a much more of a deep dive into this to try and ascertain exactly what's going on. I am myself concerned about the reference to bringing things to July when we're on the 30th of June now. Tomorrow.
August, not July.
So it's
August.
So it's coming to the August committee meeting.
Which we did to July, didn't you?
Yeah. Right, okay. That's still, when we're talking about accounts for such a period of time ago, there are concerns that we continue to just fobbed off is the only word I can think of, but in essence, it will come at the next meeting. And we don't seem to be getting any further forward with this. It's just a concern to raise on the committee side of things that we don't seem to be moving it any further forward as opposed to, we'll have an update for the next meeting. I understand the frustrations and the intricacies of everything that needs to be done. It just feels that in August we will be told it will come in the next meeting. I'm concerned that we're just going to continue to play this game of kicking it into the long grass, just a point to raise on that.
No, and I think you're right in raising that, and I think that's why I was asking the questions around capacity and whether if we get that information back, can that be signed off and in that time scale as well? Because otherwise, like you say, it is just going to be one doing one bit, somebody else not doing it, and it will just continue that revolving door, which I think is a valid point. I'll bring in, I'll just bring in Joe, and then I'll bring Councillor Ewan, because Joe's got a hand up. Yeah, Joe.
Yeah, and I absolutely, I completely understand from the committee's perspective, but I would say in terms of the progress that has been made, we have now concluded all the advice, we have now got revised set statements 23, 24, 24, 25. So again, I would say from my perspective, I'm hoping certainly within the next 2 weeks that I will absolutely be able to be in a position to sign those accounts. Obviously we're in the middle of 25, 26, and I want to take an appropriate period of time to just review everything in the rounds and make sure that I'm happy with everything and all the advice, and I need to do that once we've got 25, 26 completed. So I personally, from my own personal perspective, I would be very unhappy with myself and the team if I'm not in a position to be able to sign those by mid-July. Now, again, it does come back to, obviously that's subject to Claire and Mark being happy that they are materially correct and they're happy to issue their disclaimed opinion. But just to give the committee assurance, the work has now been done. I am very, very close to being able to say, yep, I would definitely put where income, sign my name to those accounts, but I probably just need another 2 weeks, 3 weeks max. But certainly by the end of July, definitely I'm going to be in a position to sign those. And the committee has my assurance on that.
Sorry, Chair, I don't wish to cut over the point, but it was just on a point,
if you want
very briefly. If that's the case, is it possible that this committee is updated by email? We should set a date, and then whether or not we've actually got those accounts signed. I'm just conscious of the fact that we're saying 2nd of July, potentially 3rd. It would be good for us as a committee to understand whether that's doable.
So I just come, before you bring Stephen in, Chair, I just come back and when I say signed, I mean I'm in a position that I would be able to sign them. It's a slight difference, so I'm happy that they're for me to be able to sign. Obviously, I need Claire and Stephen and others to be happy to sign. But just I want me to be in a position where I say, yeah, I'm happy now. Let's put my name to those accounts. That's the slight nuance, not formally sign them.
For us to have that assurance.
Sorry, Stephen.
It's all right. So I think. In terms of what you're saying, Councillor, I think it would be useful then maybe to, based on the timescales, and maybe that an update goes out to the committee, say the end of July.
Yes.
That gives then Jo time to look at whatever she needs to look at, and maybe just an update email needs to go around to everybody, say at the end of the month, well, at the end of July. If we could do that, Jo, that would be really useful, just to say where we're at that point and update people. Yeah, thank you. I'm just going to bring in Councillor Ewan because she's been waiting patiently here, and then I'll bring yourself in, Stephen. Thank you.
Thank you. It's just for clarity, and I mean, Jo, I know you haven't been in post all that long, and the delay of the earlier accounts is not down to you at all. But actually going to Grant Thornton and PwC, I presume you would only go to them for advice on, a material issue, which would obviously, whichever way it goes, would have a significant effect on the 23.4 and 24.5 accounts. But yes, still, with EY, agreeing the final version of the advice. Is that sort of agreed up to the point where you've been able to confidently make all the adjustments on 23.4 and 24.5 that the advice points to? So it's just being tidied up rather than a likelihood of another big change to it?
Absolutely, yes. So we have now revised the accounts to take into account that advice based on the draft advice. And as I said, we're not anticipating that changing, but I do need to make sure that Claire and Mark's queries are satisfied. But the revised accounts do incorporate that draft advice. As I said, we're not anticipating that draft advice will change in the final report, but we do need to share that with Claire and Mark and to make sure that, as I said, they are happy with the accounting treatment. And as we've said all the way along, these are complex matters. It does require application of accounting standards, but the one accounting standards have to apply to many situations. There is interpretation and application of those standards, which is not always as easy as it should be.
And they get longer and longer every time. Yeah, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Councillor. Stephen, bring you in.
Yeah, just in response to the comments that were being made, I mean, I think it's a really sensible idea that Joe develops a timetable and liaises with us to address the committee's concerns, which I think are all perfectly justified. These matters have been ongoing for a very, very long time. But I go back to the point that we cannot express an opinion and complete our audit until we have a set of financial statements which the organisation is comfortable for. Jo's indicated that in terms of completing her reviews, then it will be sometime in the latter part of July before she's in a position to sign those statements, to formally hand them over to us. And therefore, I think we need to revisit the timetable, because if those are provided to us at the end of July, with the best will in the world, an audit committee in August will not be achievable for us, particularly since there is also the material matter outstanding. So I think we need to take the discussion offline, agree a timetable which is realistic and achievable, and then management and ourselves can keep the committee updated in terms of progress against that timetable.
Thanks for that, Stephen. So I suppose it comes back to my point again there about you saying about, is that because you wouldn't have the capacity to do those in that time? If we were to get them over to you within the next few weeks, is that because you wouldn't have the capacity to work through them to get that back to us? I suppose I'm still coming back to that. I still have a concern around at what point are you as an organisation therefore going to sign them off? If Jo was to get that information to you, because I'm just not getting that reassurance that you're going to sign them, or what is the delay? What is stopping you if Jo gets those to you, really? That is my concern.
Yeah, well, we need to complete the audit work, Chair, and therefore we cannot complete the audit work until we have a set of financial statements which the organisation believe are true and fair. Jo has indicated, and we're working collaboratively with Jo and the team in providing views on the advice, but ultimately the formal audit work can only commence once we have received management supporting papers and the draft financial statements. Jo is indicating that will now be sometime between the second week in July and the end of July, based on the discussion that we're just having. Once we have that, we can continue the formal audit work, which we have to suspend for all the reasons that the committee is aware of and that we've set out below. And then we need to work through that formal audit work, of which the financial statements is one element of it. The other element of that formal audit work is our value for money work. And we're having ongoing correspondence with officers at the current time in relation to that. And then the third item is a material matter that has been brought to our attention, which needs to be worked through, and we've asked management to start considering that, which we will need to consider as well. So I have the resources, but the audit work in relation to those three items will not be completed in 1 week, which is basically, or 2 weeks, which is basically what the suggestion is for discussion today. And I want to be really clear with the committee that we need to take time to work through that once we have all of the information that we've requested, and once we've worked, management has provided to us all of the information following updated accounting advice.
So Stephen, just for this committee then, so if it was, that was a normal position and you were receiving that information, what sort of timescale would you generally be looking at once you've received those from any organisation? Are we talking a month, 2 months? What sort of timescale would be your normal timescale to put on that? Just so we can try and build some sort of idea of when we're likely to get something.
Yeah, I mean, it all depends. It depends on the complexity of the organisation, the complexity of the accounting arrangements, the complexity of the value for money, whether there are any other matters that have been brought to our attention that we need to consider, whether there's fraud or irregularity or non-compliance with laws or regulations. So there's a number of variable factors, but for an organisation with no significant material accounting findings or value for money risks, or any fraud or irregularity or non-compliance with laws and regulation, the time frame for an organisation the size of this would probably be 6 to 8 weeks, I would suggest, after receipt of all of the audit working papers from management and draft financial statements, which management are comfortable represent a true and fair view.
Right. So based on that then, it would be an issue in terms of getting that information. Even if we got it over to you, you're probably still looking at about a 2-month window, potentially, depending on what you look at and the findings of those. Is that what we're roughly?
Yeah, I mean, as a guesstimate at the moment, and hence, Chair, why I'm suggesting that I think we need to take the development of a timetable offline now that Joe has confirmed the accounting advice received has been reconfirmed and is in the process of being finalised. And then if the 5-6 financial statements are published today, then that will then allow our team to focus on the queries that we have outstanding in relation to the historic years. That is the very first part of that timetable, together with some of the other correspondence that we have ongoing, getting responses to that, will then allow us to flesh that timetable out. So I think the action for August should be an update and a timetable for the committee.
Yeah, so if we can get that, and I suppose just to clarify, so that would be then based on that you issuing a disclaimed audit opinion still on where we are at the moment in terms of concluding audit procedures and everything, so that it's still going to be a disclaimed opinion. So when we're looking at all of that, it is the value for money side of things that is still the sort of issue around that. Is that right?
Yeah, so for 3-4 and for 4-5, yes, for both of those financial years, you're right, Chair, that those opinions would be disclaimed because the backstop date has been passed by the authority. And therefore those would be disclaimed opinions. There are certain procedures that as auditors we're required to undertake and complete, so we need to work through those, hence some of the, hence the number of the questions that we have on the accounting, and then we would then complete those procedures and conclude. But you're right, the larger element of our work is in the value for money arena, given that we're issuing disclaimed opinions on both those years.
Yeah, thank you. Any other questions? Or Councillor Ewan,
Thank you very much. You referred to the material matter outstanding, as well as the advice stuff and the oh God, mine's gone blank. Anyway, you referred to the material matter outstanding, and then again you've referred to the material matter outstanding again. I'm just wondering what the material matter outstanding is, please. Is there something different? Sorry, that was one for Stephen.
Was the one for Stephen? Stephen, she said. Stephen, yeah.
I think it's one for officers, actually, Chair.
So as it stands at the moment, I'm not, so as far as I'm concerned at the moment, we have concluded our accounting on the material matters, so I don't think there is anything material outstanding. What I need to double check is, I know that, because various people have been doing various things, I know that EY have been sent a copy of the updated 23, 24, 24, 25. I just need to make sure over the next week that it has incorporated any final changes or interpretation advice that we've applied, because I've had different people working on different entity accounts. So I just need to wrap it all up next week once we're over 25, 26 and make sure that the revised and updated versions that Claire and Mark have been sent do include the proper application of all that advice. So it's within a week, I'll know whether or not they need to be sent another set of revised statements. But once that's done, that is no more than a week's timetable. Then I'm not aware of any material matters outstanding. That doesn't mean that Claire and Mark may not still have issues or questions around those material matters and the accounting for them, but I personally won't be aware of any material matters outstanding that we have not taken advice and we have now not properly accounted for.
Oh, thank you. He was maybe referring to the other stuff. I thought he was talking about something else as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that. Thanks for that update, Joe. Any other questions or comments from anybody? Councillor Grogan, yes.
Yeah, it's more of a question towards Joe, if anything. Obviously, we long-serving people in this committee have had to deal with this for quite a long time. And obviously, the historical accounts, to actually sort of try and get them over the line has been more difficult than I can imagine. And I understand, Joe, you're only in an interim position. I know you've already extended that position. And according to Stephen there, could take potentially
I've got more grey hairs because of that.
I've lost my hair since being in this committee. And basically, Stephen's saying there between 6 to 8 weeks on delivery of the paperwork that you provide. Are you in a position to see out this period in your interim management state to get this over the line?
Yeah, so absolutely. So I've absolutely committed to, well, I've been extended by Cabinet to the end of September, and I'm absolutely committed to stay until the end of September. And I think, it would be in everybody's interest if we could conclude these matters before I left. I think there would be no rationale really for not doing so, if we possibly can. I think in terms of the conclusion, as Steve said, I've certainly got control over the conclusion of the financial statements. Not all aspects of the value for money work rest at my door. Some of it does work to the wider organisation and other statutory officers, and so it's just an important thing that I obviously will do what I can, but there will still be other matters that need to be resolved by others for us to on the value for money side specifically, that I don't personally have direct control over. But I certainly, with the financial statements, I definitely would like to get those to a point where Claire's finally happy to say that they're happy with them.
So just to come back, if that's okay, Chair. So obviously I'm trying to work out end of July, get the previous share statements over, and due to Stephen's timescale, that would take us to potentially October, which obviously oversees your time within the organisation. I just wonder if we could draw a line of it, possibly by the end of September, by the time that you're still with the organisation. Is that doable with EY's work as well as your own then, Joe? It's like I said, 8 weeks seems a bit extreme. If we can get it over the line within mid-September, which is 6 weeks, it would tie in rather nice, and it'd be good to finally put a line over this, because it's been overseen in this committee for a long time, and prior to even me being on this committee.
Yeah, completely agree. Very sensible.
Yeah, I think everybody's in that same position. I think Stephen, Claire and Joe, isn't it, in terms of everyone wants to get them all agreed and published and signed off, I think, in that time, and certainly why Joe's still here, isn't it? So I think everybody is kind of working towards that, isn't it? And I think that there is an emphasis around that to try and incorporate everything at once. So I think the important thing is probably just to keep the committee updated, isn't it, with the timetable of where we're going from here. Some sort of update to the committee by the end of July, with a view to then getting that position and seeing then from EY's perspective as well as to how they can then push that also into their timetabling arrangements. So we've got a full picture of the TVCA timetabling, EY's timetabling, and then we can all see exactly where we're at in terms of that final sort of sign off, and I think that would be useful for us to have all of that together at one point to do that. Joe, is that an old hand or is it a new one?
No, it is a new one. I mean, it's just a practical matter really for the audit committee members, is that if we're not able to do this by the end of September and a new Section 73 officer does commence with the authority, there is a practical issue in that Section 73 officer would have to be comfortable themselves then to sign those accounts. And I have found myself in that position before. And coming in new, and being asked to sign a set of accounts that you've not been involved with in any way, shape or form is incredibly difficult to do. So I think it's more a case of not just, if we don't complete by the end of September, it's not just a case of whether it was then October the new Section 73 officer can sign them, because I doubt very much whether a new Section 73 officer would be prepared to put their name to them until they've done their own due diligence.
Yeah. Which
may be fairly quick or not, depending on circumstances, but there is a real risk to that, that they may require longer in order to be able to sign their accounts and to give the claim they do represent the position at the time, the financial position at the time, and they do give a true and fair view. That's quite a big burden to put on somebody who's new, and particularly when those years do contain the complex, unusual, unique public-private transactions and arrangements. So I think if we don't hit the end of September, I think that will be a real shame.
Thanks, Joe. Councillor Gordon,
I totally agree, because if it's not completed while Joe's still in office, we're looking 2027 to even getting close to some type of completion because of the due diligence to the new officer. Elaine, when is have we got a date already for September?
No, August.
Well, I was going to say, if there's anything in September just to inline this before it goes to Cabinet.
We don't have a date currently for September. I was going to speak to you later about a date for
so
late August, but
I was just maybe if it could have been just to be, so we can go inside and then have this discussion before to go to the Cabinet and totally being signed off.
Yeah, I think we need to get some dates in the pipeline if we need those committee meetings, just for sign off, isn't it? If they're required, then I would think it would be useful to get them into people's calendars and diaries, and then we've got them at the appropriate points just in advance, really, isn't it? And for quoracy, because we know that we need that for the quoracy as well. So I think it would be useful. You pick that up, Elaine. Yeah, that's great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments on this one? I know I've allowed a little bit longer on this, but I think it's important that we've done that and we've had that discussion. So thank you very much everybody for your comments, and thank you for the updates online as well from everybody. So it is really useful to have that conversation and bring the committee up to date on to the current position. So thanks for that.
And Chair, may I be excused now?
Yes, thank you, Joe. I know you wanted to bring those, so thank you very much for your time.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks everybody for those questions and comments, very useful. So moving on to the next, so they were just to approve, just to approve, wasn't it? Let me just check. It was just a verbal update, wasn't it? Still wasn't any action, So the next agenda item is agenda item number 7, summary of internal control update. So I think that's over to yourself, David, is it?
Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much.
So I'll go through, we've got a number of reports, we've got our summary report, so I'll go through that and then I'll come back to the individual reports that are referenced in there, and then we've got the annual report after that. So a summary report comes to every committee meeting, just details the work the report we've finalised since the previous committee meeting. So you see on paragraphs 2 and 3, just a little update things in the sector that we're bringing every report. It's around governance and the importance of governance and potentially where TIA can help in that. So something to consider. The 5 reports we finalised: credits payments, external grant control, income and debtors, and then 2 advisory reviews on whistleblowing and fraud and surety. So I'll finish going through this summary and then we'll come back to those individual reports. So we've got a table showing our progress against the plan. We haven't made changes since the previous summary report, and we've made 2 priority 1 recommendations. We've not been advised of any frauds, which is a good thing. So Appendix A has got the key strategic findings from each audit. Again, I'll come back to those. The best thing I want to show is Appendix B. Chuckling away, and Sarah knows the situation here. So everything is green, which means we finish all the work. Hurrah! Running around with shirts on my head at this point. It's been a challenge. We started, nothing against TVJ, but we started the work not long before Christmas, to be honest. So get it finished by now is absolutely fantastic. We obviously wouldn't be issuing the annual report unless we finished all the work. So that, yeah, that's Appendix B, and Appendix C is just some briefings on all sorts of subjects, everything that's relevant to your sector. So a lot of it around security and cyber. So any questions on those, I'll keep in abeyance. But yeah, a bit like reading. I think I mentioned last time when you got any holiday reading. I don't know if Angela took any on holiday with you. So the audits themselves. I think I've got it in the right order. We did creditor payments. That was substantial assurance with 2 priority 3 recommendations. I'm assuming members have read the reports. I'm not going to go through in detail. I'll just go through sort of some of the key recommendations. So on that one, 2 priority 3s. Third one was around some process map and procedures to be updated. The last one in Feb 23 and due to be done in Feb 24. And there was some from sample testing on new supplier forms, one that hadn't been fully completed, no evidence that supplier bank details have been verified, and 2 others. So, do you want to pause at that point, take any questions on that one, or rattle through them?
Yeah, do you want to, any questions or comments on that one? Yeah. Just a comment from me really, just obviously you've referenced in that there are effective and efficient arrangements that are in place to support the credit repayments, so I think it's important just to note that that was one of your findings, which is really reassuring. So,
it is, yeah, if you look at, the testing we do is from invoice, purchase order approval to batch approval, and they're probably the most important 2, and supplier changes. Yeah. And by virtue of the fact we've not referenced any of that in the recommendations, is a good starting point. Procedures and new supplier forms, but the other 3 areas are absolutely key. And any recommendations in those would be significantly higher than priority 3, and it wouldn't be substantial assurance. Yeah, it's almost like what I've not said is important.
Yes, yeah, that's it. And I think especially given some of those sort of review recommendations and things, it's good that you're now finding some of those processes and procedures embedded in the organisation. And I think that's the key thing for this committee, is reassuring that you are seeing now some of those come through in practice, which is really good. So yeah, thanks for that. External grant controls. Oh, sorry, Councillor.
So David, as obviously now we've concluded a lot of these reports and they've all come through as green, which is, I love the green colour. It also, so these key findings, the ones that you've also had, like historically, like say for instance on bullet point 3 of the credit payments, where that was there in previous meetings, will they slowly be removed away from moving forward then, or will they always stay on the system? Because it says there that the code, the setting budget code process map are not up to date, and they were last reviewed on the 3rd of February 2023. So that was in previous reports as well. Will they get removed now all the reports have been concluded and they're now set up a new system, or is that still ongoing?
What we'll do,
because obviously I don't want it to just look like it's repeating itself. And
no, well, we do a follow-up, which we issued as well. So that looks at all the recommendations we've made. Probably not the recommendations this year, because we give you time to implement them. So all the recommendations, all the ones in these reports certainly, and any hangover from last year, will get reviewed next year. With TVCA we do 2 follow-ups. We do a mid-year, using the name there, that's sort of summertime, September-ish, so they'll get looked at, and then again February, March. So no recommendation, no bullet point, as you say, ever gets forgotten about. They'll get followed up.
Right.
Yeah.
But
until they've cleared off, obviously.
So we're hoping next year that these issues, when they're being implemented, will be cleared, hopefully for next year's review.
Yeah,
because obviously it just keeps like repeating itself and repeating itself, and it's obviously open to the public. And if the public read them and then they say, oh, they still haven't done that, they still haven't done that, because they don't understand the process is what you guys do. If we don't, and obviously how would you expect everyone else to understand that? So,
quite often there's reasons behind it, then, I'm afraid. So we're already on why the accounts for 23, 24, but get these things behind it.
Right.
Sometimes you can't just implement.
So they will eventually come up as we progress?
Well,
hopefully.
Thanks for that. Do you want to go on to,
Oh, sorry,
Is that right?
nuisance.
Is it on that one?
It-
On credit payments? Or, because I think David was just going to go through them all individually.
Oh, no, sorry.
Is it on the other one?
I'll
Yeah,
come back at
in
the end
general.
then
Yeah,
after
that's
it's gone
fine.
through.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Do you want to go through the next one?
Yeah, external
Tim?
grant controls.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks.
reasonable assurance, 1.2 recommendation. I've got something back in mind that we talked about this previously. But it's around the use of the project management system, System K. And there's a bit of a workaround at the moment because it's not fully embedded, using spreadsheets as a sort of interim functionality. So the recommendation is to fully develop System K and get that sort of full utilisation out of it rather than relying on it. Especially it's a great to do a job, because obviously when you put it in there, there's a stopgap and it goes somewhere else, you've got potential key errors.
Yeah, Anton.
Sorry, the development of the system, I know we've talked about this before.
Yeah, I can remember talking about
Yeah,
it.
the action's actually on the processes over the system. So we probably need to just look at the actions, because it's not to fully develop, it's to look at the processes and then look at the solution past that. Sorry, just to
That's
clarify.
all right. Thank you. Thanks for that. To you, David. Yeah.
Next one, I think, is income debtors. Limited assurance on this one, got a number of recommendations, one priority 1 and 6 priority 2s, and a couple of priority 3s. Financial regulation scheme of delegations don't contain the approval process for authority limits and sales invoices. Improvements around write-off criteria being documented. More robust procedure for chasing old debts from customers, obviously. Changes to credit notes, they've been documented, a number of issues there. All the recommendations have been accepted, appropriate timescales in place. And again, going back to sort of Barry's comments about the meeting, you can't get things done the day after the recommendation, things take time. So yeah, so the recommendation timescales do look appropriate for the amount of work involved.
I think on that one, just looking at the comments on it, it's obviously one that we need to just keep a check on, isn't it? Because there are a few things that have been highlighted within that. We just need to make sure that is sort of reviewed, probably more so because of the findings that are on that one, particularly in feedback. So that would be a good one to just to keep a closer check on, David, from your side of things, if that's possible. Thanks. Yeah, Councillor Ennis, yeah.
Just briefly on that, I'm sorry. The age debtors, obviously the report's not been produced since 2025. That's quite a lengthy period of time. Is there work in the background going on to that so we can produce it? I appreciate you've mentioned the work about going out to retrieve money from kind of those that haven't settled, but if it was maybe a 6-month mark I could understand, but it's 18 months since that loan's last pulled, so just an update on that would be appreciated.
Actually, that's an update on management on the action.
Yeah, just an idea on where we're at with it,
that's
just I appreciate
yeah.
that's in the report.
Does anybody know who? Oh, right, so can we get an update from Joe on that? I think it's for Joe in terms of, if we could just ask that, take that away and come back and, if that can just be fed back out to the committee after the meeting via email. I think that would be really useful. Thanks.
Yes, I'm just thinking in terms of sort of the actions that I'm going through here, what we can do is further down the agenda, we do have a report on kind of backward looking internal audit actions and kind of in-year ones that we could add all of these to, and the committee could keep a tracker on progress. Obviously it includes dates, and we're happy to kind of give some additional detail if we could add them, subject to David agreeing with that approach as well. We could add it to that report just to be clear. And then obviously there's the mid-year follow-up and the end-of-year follow-up as well, by which you can kind of see how many have been closed as well. So we could add those to there if that would be helpful.
Yeah, I think that would be useful, wouldn't it? Yeah, if we could do that, I think that would be really useful to everybody. Yeah, thanks. Councillor Ewan?
Yeah, the Edge Debtors report, I'm just gobsmacked that it's not being run off monthly or more frequently than monthly. I would expect your debtors software to produce that itself, and that your credit control, the TBCS credit control will be looking at it every week and chasing up anything.
Should be a starting point, really, shouldn't it? Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying there isn't any debt chasing or whether you need to improve, but that's where you'd start. We as directors of audit, we get weekly report, fortnightly reports if the client's not been invoiced. So yes, that's my starting point.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. So I'm just gobsmacked that they should be that far behind. Yeah, thank you.
And I think it's relevant point, Councillor, you know, for it to go back to February 25, then yeah, there's a system, some failing in the system somewhere, isn't it? Whether that's an automated system or a manual system, there's something around procedural, which hopefully Joe will be able to come back and confirm the sort of the behind the scenes on that one particularly. David, over to you for fraud assessment. Yeah. Thanks.
Well, I'll run through the next two sort of together. See, these are advisory reviews, so they are slightly different to the normal audits we do, which are either assurance or compliance generally. So slightly different approach. The audit work is very similar. You still get recommendations, but you don't get an overall audit opinion on each of those. So I can't say are there these for limited reasonable assurance, etc. But the reports obviously are still. Have you actually got the reports on the agenda as well, the individual reports in the pack? So I'm not going to go through the individual recommendations because it's quite a lot, but they are, like I said, they're advisory. So we do those sort of reviews where it's maybe something a little bit new or different, or you've got a change in process where it includes in the name, it's advice. Recommendations still need following up. And they were undertaken by our Director of Governance, Risk and Compliance, who's our expert on those. So yeah, number of recommendations on those. I'll take questions, I'm not sure I can answer them, but I can come back on these because they were quite specialist. We have talked briefly about one of them last time because one of the policies, I think it was whistleblower policy came to us. Yeah. And the outcome of the audit has been fed into that whistleblower policy.
Do you want to come in, Sarah?
Yeah, I think particularly on that, so just to give the committee some assurance that on whistleblowing, for the recommendations there, you saw that at your last meeting, albeit we ran the meeting as informal, and just to confirm that policy is now being updated, and a number of things that we've already done and embedded across the authority, and that was approved by Cabinet on Friday, particularly for whistleblowing. I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Jeanette, but it was just to confirm that we've already approved that one with all of the recommendations as made by TIAA.
Thanks for that, Sarah. Anybody else, any questions or comments on those two? No, thank you. Anything further from yourself, David?
Do you want me to go straight on to the annual report?
You can, yeah, that's fine, thank you. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, sorry, I thought you were good.
No, it's fine, yeah.
I'm just concerned, I appreciate that you've got to give an overall opinion on internal control based on the work that you've done.
Yeah.
But it seems to me that especially, with the press coverage and all the rest of it, and the changes in staff, and I'm not going to go into a long list, so we'll be here all day. But to me, 95 days internal audit coverage, and only actually doing 4 planned audits, it doesn't seem like much audit coverage to me. I mean, it's about half of one full-time equivalent person's actual chargeable time, isn't it? I mean, you haven't had the resources to do a main accounting system audit, a payroll audit, a treasury management audit, so obviously those don't feature into your overall opinion. I'm just wondering, when TVCA last reviewed how much internal audit work it's contracting for, and how that compares with other combined authorities, I wouldn't be surprised if, I mean, I've no idea, I haven't made the comparison and I can't, but I wouldn't be surprised if we found that a combined authority, elsewhere of a comparable sort of size, was getting a jolly sight more than 95 audit days. Any views on that?
The only thing I would say initially is it's not 4 audits, technically it's 8. So we've got 4 that's on the, I'm going to say that's going to go into the annual plan, they've got assurance ratings, plus the 2 advisory reviews, which were quite big reviews, so the whistleblowing and anti-fraud. So they're still audits, plus the half year and full year follow-up. So it's 8 audits as such, of which 4 have an assurance opinion.
Yeah.
So it's 8 rather than 4. As regards to benchmarking, I don't know how many days for the combined authorities, with the exception of the SDGC, etc.
It's just sort of jumps off the page to me that, you know, nothing on the main accounting system, nothing on payroll, nothing on treasury management, and 95 days doesn't seem very much at all, and there's something I'll come to when we actually get to the whistleblowing policy before. I can wait some.
Well, the comment you've made there would, I don't know if you say go through it now, it's just hang fire. We're going to have a discussion briefly at this meeting, but the plan for 26-27 is next on our agenda. So the comments you've made there about what audits you'd like to see will feed very nicely into that.
Let's bring Sarah in there as well.
Just a few points of clarity, I think. So the internal audit arrangements were actually reviewed back under the Tees Valley review, and one of actually the actions that came out of that after SIFA did a review is that they recommended we undertake another review of the whole internal audit arrangements, and that's scheduled, I think the date was 2027, it's part of the report for the backward looking outstanding actions, but obviously that one isn't due. But what we intend to do over this year is engage with that body to reintroduce. We've been doing an awful lot of strengthening work around internal audit, certainly since it came into my function, working really closely with David at TIAA. So there are a number of things that we have been doing to look and scrutinise that, but we can certainly go away and also add to that review that's due, and we're starting to think about now benchmarking with a couple of the combined authorities, so we can add it to that scheduled review that we have.
Oh, that sounds excellent.
Yeah.
And of course, obviously, the more internal audit days you get, the more internal audit queries will need to be responded to by your staff. But you know, the work still, I think probably needs to.
I think just also another point of clarity as well off the back of the Tees Valley review, another of the recommendations was that we should have separate audit plans for each entity. So just a point of clarification that this is TVCA's internal audit activity. There are separate internal audit plans and days scheduled through TIAA for STDC, HTC and MDC, which obviously are dealt with through their own audit governance committees. So just to clarify that this is solely TVCA internal audit, and there are separate plans and days for the other related entities.
How much do the others add up to?
It's the same, is it the same, David?
95 days each?
No, in total it's about 95,
For the 3?
Yeah, 30 odd each.
Yeah. Thanks very much, and thank you for
Thank you. Any other questions on that one before we move on to the annual report? No. Thanks for that one. So, do you want to move on to the annual report, David? Thank you.
So the overall opinion is there's reasonable effective risk management control and governance processes in place based on the 4 reviews that have got an assurance opinion attached, plus we also did the 2 the 2 advisory reviews. That's on page 71 of the pack. We've also got some tables detailing a number of recommendations we made in this year, last year. 2 priority 1, 31 priority 2 and 12 priority 3 recommendations, which is significantly more than the previous year, but that comes out from the 2 advisory reviews as well, those recommendations in there. The types of areas the recommendations fall in, so we made 40 odd recommendations. Most of those, probably about half of those come in compliance, the rest in governance framework, which is very, very typical of what we see across all sectors, to be honest with you. Compliance is testing, and governance framework is policies and procedures. If you think of recommendations we talked about even just today, that's where those are falling into. And then we're going to look at the table at Annex A, just again similar to the table we saw before without the green. It's just a sum of the audits we completed, their assurance ratings, and confirmation that we completed the work within budget. Final report is issued. Again, quite happy to take any questions on the annual report.
Thanks for that, David. Questions? Yes, Councillor Brogan. Thank you.
Just a quick one on page 78 of the pack. There's a delivery date today. Has that been reached on the SIFA? It says 30th of the 6th, 2026. The follow-up review of the TIA was complete against the management action and was taken in respect. So is that, are we happy to pick that off today? It's part of your package, number 5. Just really just being today's date on it, that's all. 78 of the pack, isn't it?
Abstract actions, yeah, so that was, so to clarify, those were the 4 recommendations that the authority received from the SIPFA review, from the Tees Valley review. So yes, that one relates to, one of their recommendations was that each entity should run a familiarisation session with the internal auditor to cover a number of areas such as, governance arrangements, any impending changes over the next year, strategic risk, and any sort of areas of deep dive that the authority or related entities for the development corporations believe that the internal auditor should be aware of as we start planning for the years ahead for internal audit plans. So yes, we have completed that action. That familiarisation session was last week, I think, the week before. So yes, we have completed that one.
And we've used that quite conveniently to have a discussion about the plan for next year. So what are the risks for the organisation, what projects are going on, and that feeds into, again, going back to your comments to your council about thinking about what audits for next year, 26, 27 this year.
Thank you.
Sorry. Yeah, I think it is.
Councillor, yes, thank you.
Sorry about this, but top of page 76, it says further sessions will be delivered with the newly appointed internal audit provider to ensure alignment with future audit activity. What's happened? I mean, you were the auditors last year, right?
We're not going anywhere as far as I know. It was re-tendered. Of which we won. So maybe it's written with whoever they are. Yeah.
So it's being re-tendered and you've still got the contract?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can I just, sorry, because I think we're crossing over onto 2 reports here at different points. So at the minute, the report that's being delivered from David, but some of those comments are coming from the next item, I think further down the agenda. So I think people are moving. So I think, so just if we can bring it back to what David's presented, the annual report, and then we've got the internal audit report.
I'm really sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Don't worry. Yeah. So I think you're referring to the action, internal audit action report, where we're on the annual report, the one before at the minute. So yeah.
Sorry.
It's okay. That's fine. So we're up to. I think the last page of that report goes up to 73 on my system anyway. Yeah.
Apologies.
It's okay. Yeah. Is that all right? Yeah. It's just
it's quite a lot of the same type of stuff that you keep going through.
Yeah, that's it. So so we're just up to no further than page 73. Thanks, Stan.
Do apologise.
No, it's all right. David, anything else?
No.
Any other questions for David? Anybody? No. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I just wanted to, David referred to it earlier, but I just wanted to also acknowledge as well that obviously we were delivering 25-26 internal audit plan under very squeezed timescales, as David referred to. So I just wanted to acknowledge that it was an awful lot of work by an awful lot of people to get that over the line, and certainly TIA were very helpful in that as well, with all of the planning that they put in place to make sure that they had people available at the right time to meet that squeezed timescale, and particularly to Angela and her team as well, who very much micromanage that entire process of 25-26 and have got us to the point of an annual report for 25-26 activity. And just a verbal update, if I may, Chair, on planning for 26-27, as we've kind of already referred to it. So we have started that process, albeit, again, we are very, very slightly behind this time, but obviously we needed to re-procure the internal audit service as well, so we weren't able to start a 26-27 plan until we've re-procured that service, so we've now completed that. And as David referred to, we've started looking at planning for 26-27, which we would like to engage the committee on via correspondence and informally as well, to allow us
to arrive at a plan, and then we'll bring it to the next committee for ratification in August or whichever date is set. But to allow us to be able to start internal audit work for this year, I would just like to ask verbally for the committee's permission to be able to engage you on that plan, get your thoughts, comments on areas that you would like to see coverage on, based on the familiarisation session that we've already run with TIA and strategic risk. If you would be open to us engaging you on that plan, and we would hope to start that kind of this week as well, because we're at the point of it's been through kind of a management review and then it needs to go through director review as well. But it was just to give that verbal update on 26, 27, because I do appreciate that we're at the end of Q1 now, but to allow us to start some work, just to ask verbally the committee if they would allow us to engage them via correspondence.
I'm happy for that.
Yeah, I think that would be really useful. So would be the intention just to sort of circulate some via email to the committee members?
Absolutely, yeah. We've got an informal report already prepared to give you an idea of the work that we've already undertaken and TIA have been pre-procured, to get you up to speed with what we have been doing in that session and everything that we've considered to start to look at some suggested areas. So we hope to be able to come this week with that informal report, and then we'll take your comments to allow us to finalise the draft and then for ratification. But it allows us to start some work.
Yeah, I think that would be really useful, and it's good to see that some of that sharing is now coming to the committee as well from some of the things that we've now embedded and previously, so it's good that some of that is now progressing, where the committee can be more involved in some of that and the discussions around, the plans and the projections for future years of audit as well. So thank you for that. And again, just to put on thanks to everybody who has been involved, because I know it is a big piece of work that's been done. So to get it to that point, over time it's taken. But yeah, I think the committee, just pass on our thanks to everybody who's been involved with that in the team directly. Thank you. So if we move on to the next agenda item, which is the internal audit actions update report. Sarah, do you want to do any update before?
No, I was going to say.
Yeah, sorry.
I was just going to introduce it just to say that obviously we already strayed into that item, I think, in the previous one. But just to say, yes, that for a bit of context, because I'm just conscious we've got a couple of new members today, that what this report is doing is making sure that the audit committee is entirely briefed on a number of backward-looking internal audit actions that, for a number of reasons, the authority was carrying around, for want of a better phrase. And I know that you were receiving updates, but I think that there was some concern expressed to me at the point when I took over the function that it wasn't clear to the committee what was moving on and why. So again, we've done an awful lot of work, and thanks to David at TIA as well, and to actually to start to look at what work was actually some 23-24 audit year as well. So this report is updated with the committee on some in-year audit actions that we have completed, and also some backward-looking actions that we had from 23-24 and 24-25. And just sort of in summary, I'm happy with the progress that we are making there and have been making since kind of late last year in progressing a number of those.
Thanks for that. Angela, do you want to come in with anything next?
No, I think it's all covered.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thanks. And just again to echo that there has been a lot of work, because there was a number of outstanding things on that, and we have seen that come through at various stages of the whole process. But it's good to see that some of them, we obviously asked around delivery dates, and it's good to see that some of them either have now got a delivery date or are complete, which is really good to see that. And we can see that there is a delivery date in future months or ahead this year. So it's good to see some of that with sort of target deliverable dates now on there as well. So thank you for updating that. Any questions or comments? Yeah,
Sarah, are these dates? It'd be nice to clear the slate at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Are they within? Have you got the capacity, and are they manageable to be completed by these set dates?
Yes. So now we have now we've got underneath the skin of what some of these actions were. I think just in summary, we had 47 backward-looking ones. We've now closed 33 of those, and just to give the committee some assurance that those are in conjunction with TIAA where they can. Some of these were actually under a previous internal auditor as well, who obviously are no longer around to issue that with, but TIAA very kindly offered to take them in as well and look at what, when we say we have closed something, they look at the evidence for that closure as well. So we've closed 33 of the 47 that were backward looking, and so 14 remain. And I think the latest dates that we have for those are September this year.
There's 1 November there, I believe.
Yeah, possibly one November. But obviously what we need to make sure is that they are done properly and we have enough resource to do them. And but yeah, by the end of this year we will have completed all of those.
Good to know. So the capacity, you're happy with the capacity
yes,
you've got?
Happy with the capacity, yeah. I think, to be fair, there was a number kind of in the governance area, Jeanette wasn't there, but obviously now Jeanette's here, there's capacity now within that area to complete a number of those.
Thank you. And it's good that that reassurance has also been sought from TIA on some of those ones as well, so it gives us that further reassurance that although you have looked at them as well, they've been agreed and signed off in that whole process, which is really good from our perspective as a committee. Any other questions at all or comments, anybody? No? Thank you for that update. Thank you very much, very useful.
So can I just ask a quick, how many was originally? You've got 14 left.
So hang on,
40,
sorry, I had
wasn't
the
it?
stats there.
37.
Yeah.
47.
Yeah, there were 47 backward. I think there was about 5 that were in year as well, which have also been completed. And so we have 14 that remain from the backward looking ones, but the in year ones are complete.
Well done.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah,
Just to say again,
absolutely
a lot at the same time as the squeeze timetable for 25-26. And ultimately this was all on the authority, but at the same time as a squeeze timetable for 25-26, the amount of backward-looking ones that we've closed that many really is testament to the amount of work that a lot of teams have done, but in particular Angela and her team have been across all of this.
The tanker doesn't turn very quick.
You're right.
If you got Kaylee right, it's a handbrake too.
And again, if you can just pass on the committee's thanks, Angela, and the team for everything that's been done as well, just to we do appreciate the hard work that people are doing in the background on these things, because they have been complex and it has been a long haul for them all, so really good, and thanks to everybody for that. So next agenda item number 10, which is the whistleblowing policy. Is that yourself, Jeanette? Yeah, thank you.
Yes, certainly is. Thank you, Chair. So the whistleblowing policy has been reviewed. It was last updated in 2024, and it's one of the more critical policies of any organisation really, and it means that members of staff, elected members, contractors and members of the public can make whistleblowing allegations if they believe that there's some kind of wrongdoing that's taken place, and they will be protected. All disclosures are protected, and members will be aware, most of you here will be aware that this policy came to the committee, the Employment Committee, on the 21st of May, and there were a number of comments made which have since been actioned. And as was just mentioned, there was an advisory audit as well, and there were a number of recommendations made by the internal audit team, which mainly related to making sure that staff were aware of the whistleblowing policy, where to find it, how to make a disclosure, making it clear that they would be protected. And so attached to this report is the revised whistleblowing policy, but also a delivery plan, which the communications team and HR have worked really hard on. And they've already delivered most of it since the 21st of May, so that's really good going. And this committee, well, members of this committee, also made some recommendations, one of which was that if the authority receives unsigned undated whistleblowing allegations, they should be treated with equal weight as a whistleblowing allegation that is signed and dated. So that's now in the policy. This committee also asked that in respect of the monitoring officer, it's the monitoring officer who is the lead officer for whistleblowing matters, receives all of the whistleblowing allegations, that in case there is a whistleblowing or some whistleblowing allegations against the monitoring officer, there should be procedures in place to ensure that somebody else, somebody independent, deals with those allegations, so that the monitoring officer, so to speak, isn't marking their own homework, you know, that we're completely unbiased. And so that's now in place as well. And the other point that the internal auditors advised was that the policy should explicitly give the contact details for the monitoring officer, which is now in the policy, and make it absolutely clear that the monitoring officer is responsible for receiving and ensuring that proper investigation is undertaken in respect of those whistleblowing matters. So thank you ever so much, members of the committee, because I found it a really invaluable discussion that we had. And as Sarah pointed out earlier, the report did go to, with your recommendations, did go to Cabinet last week, and they've supported your the recommendations, and the policy is now in place. But we thought we'd give you another opportunity to comment on the policy because it's such a critical policy. So the floor is yours, and happy to answer as many questions as I can.
Thanks, Jeanette. Councillor Robin, yes.
Jeanette, thank you. Obviously, your successor has now been announced, and thank you for your work within the organisation. I thought I'd put that on record. On page 86 of the packet number 4, obviously there was an additional bit that we just discussed. It just says 1 and then there's a blank for number 2, so that's just a clerical error.
Yeah.
I just want to get to this page, so it's on page 86 of the pack. So it's, I think, is that number 4 of the document? That's the one I was talking about. 1 second. Apologise. It's actually in the policy statement itself. You know the whistleblower policy, which is 99 of the pack. I just think there's obviously there's a date wrong at the bottom. Oh, my back fingers, I swear. I told you, it's so touchy, this thing.
Is it the version control?
Yeah. So obviously at the bottom it's got like the 26th of June, obviously that needs to be amended. But on 86, there's a bit there that I actually found quite confusing. I'm trying to find where it is. It was against, there was certain wordings that, where's 4.4 on the policy? 1 second, sorry about this. There we go, I'm getting to it now.
The organisation will take all reports of detriment seriously.
94.
It's 94, 4.4.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, I read it and I had to actually Google some of the words. I didn't understand it, to be brutally honest with you. I just thought it could be a little bit more plain English. It does sound a little bit. And I just thought, obviously, if people are going to look at content, I understand the reason behind it, but with certain things, I think it's sort of like turns into gobbledygook, correct terms and things like that, instead of just being in a little bit more simpler English. And that was just something that I noticed about that. And it's not a query, it's just obviously that. And also at 4.5, you can see where additional words have been connected and it doesn't make a sentence. So it says the comms team will ensure that this is communicated where detriment is confirmed, but it just needs to be put into a correct type of a sentence. Considering that I didn't do very well in English, I
You do read words.
Because I do read the thing, and anyway, you know what I mean? So if that could just be have a slight amendment just to make it a thingy. But everything else I agree with, especially since you've had to change things due to the new Employment Rights Act as well.
That's right.
Yeah, so obviously it's had to have a little bit of rejig as well. So,
the Employment Rights Act came into force in April of this year, so it's very, very timely, and it means that people may report sexual harassment as one of the whistleblowing matters, and it means that they get protection because every whistleblower is protected, and that wasn't the case beforehand. It was health and safety policy looked at sexual harassment.
And I think it's good to see that some of those obviously the comments that we made at the last meeting have been fed in, and that's really reassuring again. But it also shows and demonstrates how the committee and officers can all work together to get some of these policies and that voice around some of them and implement the changes. So I think that's a really good example of where that has worked really well for everybody. So thank you for what's been done there. Councillor Harrison.
It's just a comment on the back of what Peter said.
Yeah.
I think that generally, that is not specifically to do with the whistleblowing policy, but generally reports can be over technical. And I think this was brought up a little while ago within Cabinet, and I think that was discussed then. And hopefully the reports are a little bit more readable, so that you know, the likes of me can understand what's being said rather than having to Google and decide and find out what these words mean. So I think it's a very good point.
There can sometimes be a lot of technical jargon within them all, which is quite difficult, isn't it? It is, and you know, and we're looking at 150 pages, that's it, and we're embedded in this, so anybody who's not embedded in it is an organisation, isn't it? You know, the public are reading that, so it is important, isn't it, that the language is correct. Councillor Ewan, yes, thank you.
Yeah, sorry to be a pest, but seeing, you know, the monitoring officers, the lead officer for receipt and action on whistleblowing, you know, I mean, that might be absolutely fine for the whole of one monitoring officer's career, who is, you know, absolutely blameless and has never even dropped a sweet paper. But, you know, if you ended up with a situation where somebody who wanted to blow the whistle was thinking, well, I've got to blow the whistle to the monitoring officer. I think all these bosses are all in it together and in with the councillors as well, and they're lining their own pockets and all the rest of it. You know, you're not going to get those reports, are you? And also, you know, if something is specifically about the monitoring officer and it gets emailed to the monitoring officer's email address, well, oh, thank you very much, I'll delete that. I mean, to be honest, what I would rather see is a situation where whistleblowing goes to internal audit, but on the other hand, you get so little internal audit that I wonder if internal audit would even be able to resource that if it happened.
We had one 2 weeks ago from I won't say who, obviously, came to us via the audit committee chair, I think it was, and we are doing a piece of work. In fact, Nick, who did those audits, is doing the investigation work of that quite as we speak, but we're giving up for that. So yeah, we do. Depending on what it is, obviously, we certainly can pick it up.
No, just to be the first point of contact for whistleblowing, and I can understand the logic for having it as the monitoring officer, but even more so, I would have thought the internal audit, you know, the head of internal audit, you know, is a step away from everything, and you wouldn't get the officers and the councillors are all in it up to their necks. There's no point in reporting something to them if it's actually internal audit that you reported to.
We have had some in the past that have come directly.
All right, yeah. Sorry, I mean, as a substitute, I'm ending up coming up with this rather than the proceedings by the looks of it.
Do you want to come in on that, Jeanette? Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Actually, you're making some really astute points, really important key points. And it was on the 21st of May that some members of this committee mentioned that they had similar concerns to yourself and said, you know, we need something in the policy that's, just in case there are allegations against the monitoring officer, there ought to be a separate process, and that's now acknowledged in the policy. It's being addressed. But the internal auditors recommended that we make clear in the policy that whistleblowing issues should come to the monitoring officer. So that's still in there, but there is a section in there that explains what people ought to do if they have concerns about the monitoring officer. And we do have to produce a log of all whistleblowing allegations, which will come to this committee on a regular basis. So whatever whistleblowing matters are received will be listed, and the dates received and the action taken, and this committee will oversee all of that work. But we can amend the policy further to state that that whistleblowers can also contact the internal auditor if that's what this committee would like to do. Happy to do that.
I think that would be better and give give equal prominence to internal audit's contact details if that's something that internal audit was finding acceptable. I mean, it may well be that 99 out of 100 or even 100 out of 100 reports that they get, they'll just email them straight to the monitoring officer. But it does mean that you've got somewhere else to go if you think all the officers and councillors are up to their commitment themselves.
I must agree, Councillor Ewan there. If TIA obviously got the processes and the procedures in place for other bits and pieces, it wouldn't be so bad to have them in place here as a backup, even if the individual, like you say, doesn't feel comfortable talking within the organisation. I think it's actually a good idea.
Thank you. So you happy to look at that?
Yeah, that's fine, thank you. Yeah, Councillor Lewis, yes.
Thanks, Chair. Just a very brief point for me. It's really good to see all those discussion points we made in the discussion last involved that. Then it's really a piece of work. And it's good to see that the internal auditor, I should say, has said as much about it. The only one point that shone out to me was it still says that the one weakness is faith in it from a staffing point of view. So it's more of a case of what are we going to be doing to kind of ascertain whether in a 12-month period, whether actually the changes to the policy that we've made have actually reassured staff and that weakness is no longer there. How are we going to monitor that to know that the changes that have been reflected in the policy actually are shining through and staff have confidence now as opposed to the opposite?
The internal auditor undertook a staff survey, and that's when they discovered that of the, I think it was 81, it was over 80 responses, that something like 80% of staff were unaware of the policy and where to find it and how to report. So it may well be that this committee would like a follow-up staff survey in 12 months' time, so that you can, or less, if it's entirely up to you, time period's your choice, so that you can measure just how embedded the whistleblowing policy is. We have presented to the staff forum, which is open to all staff. You'll see as Appendix 2 that the main communications team have already delivered a number of those actions in terms of making sure that the staff are aware of what the policy is and where to find it and how, and the fact that they will be protected should they wish to make a whistleblowing allegation.
I think that would be really good. And I think it would be good as well, a follow-up survey just to understand. Probably, from my point of view, maybe 12 months is probably the ideal. It's given that policy enough time to set in and then allows us to then see, has it reflected in that cultural change in people's faith within the process? I think that probably a wise thing.
What it also gives is, if you did it too soon, if there's been a big push on it, it's because, we had a briefing about that.
Exactly. That's it, isn't it? No, thanks for that one. Thank you. I'm just conscious of time, so I'm just going to...
So, Mandy, I'm sorry, I'll have to be back in Hartlepool by 1:45. It was in the diary before.
That's it. So I'm just conscious of
2 minutes.
Thanks.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
It's been a bit of a meeting you wanted to ask.
I know, I think because we didn't have the last meeting quorum, it's a bit longer than previous, so apologies for that running over slightly. I would suggest, if we move on to the next one, I would just suggest that we maybe take those as read, Jeanette, and because they are policies, but the recommendation is obviously to for them to go to Cabinet for approval. But has anybody got any questions around any of those that have been shared in terms of the policies?
I'm sorry, but I have looked at just a couple of what I would say points. On 137 of the pack, it asks, regarding the information for the categorisation, what checks should be done. So obviously first name, bank account, payroll. With taxation and payroll, I do think we should actually add the criminal offence data, because if there's anyone that's been committed fraud while dealing with payroll and taxation, it should be included on the policy of when they're getting recruited, if they're working within finance. And also on the CCTV, are we talking about CCTV policy as well, Chair?
Yes.
Right, so on the CCTV policy, which is there was no responsibility to any specific officer. Well, I can just find the sheet here. You know, on the title, usually where it says senior responsible officer, on the CCTV policy, there's no responsible
on page
officer.
176.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe, I'll just double check, 176. If that can be just included, yeah. So there's no, it's only draft, but there's someone should be responsible for it.
Yeah.
And I'll let you carry on, Chair. I was just overseeing
Yeah,
them.
that's really useful, thank you.
Sorry, page 185, CCTV. It says no images from CCTV will ever be posted online or disclosed in the media. Why not? I mean, if you take pictures of somebody emptying a lorry, fly tipping across one of your runways or something like that, and you've got a nice clean picture of it on CCTV, you're going to give that to the police, you're going to take him to court, and after he's been to court, why would you not
release the information to the media?
Yeah.
Or if someone is, like we've got security, same type of thing, if someone comes here and they've been convicted, it could be used.
Yeah. I think you're tying yourself too much by having that sense and sense, so I would be inclined to...
Local authorities do, don't they?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we had somebody that, got caught, a couple of them that got caught because of residents' CCTV, and we're happy to release that.
Yeah, I think the issue is the data protection, GDPR, but the police are in a position to publish CCTV footage of photographs of people online, so we would work with the police on that and let the police determine whether or not that was appropriate.
No, I mean, if the police told you you could put it in your press release, that would be fine, but I'm pretty sure that our council has sent out some press releases with photos from, videos taken, so...
Yeah, I mean, I can certainly take that back to the communications team. We've got the head of comms sitting with us now, he's listening as well.
Probably taking notes.
Yeah. Thanks for that. Any other comments on any of those at all? No. And as I say, it's just for us to note the work that's been done, and obviously, as I said, these will go forward to Cabinet anyway to review and confirm. So thank you very much for the work on those ones. Thank you. Agenda item number 12 is anti-fraud. Sorry.
I thought I'd jumped on, but I haven't. You've just said number 12.
Yeah, number 12, anti-fraud. Yeah. So it's the Reaper surveillance one, which is page 188 of the pack.
Yeah, I hope I wasn't sort of, one too late last night when I got to it, but actions that could be seen to constitute fraud include, but are not limited to, and there's a list down there. It looks, I mean, anything, some of these, my understanding of fraud is that you need to have taken something or gain from something and falsified the records. So, if I steal some of the petty cash and I write out a slip that said that I spent it on, refreshments for such and such a meeting, that's fraud because I've stolen it and I've tried to cover my tracks. But if I just see a handbag lying around and walk out with it, that's still theft, but it's not fraud. And I just, late last night or early this morning looking at this list, I was thinking there was possibly stuff on there that, theft, destruction of property or data, or misappropriation of funds. I mean, that's not fraud unless you cover your tracks. Disclosing confidential information is not fraud. Intimidation and exploitation.
198.
Page 198, the blue blobs down
You've got
there.
the bullet points.
There's a few of those bullet points don't look like fraud.
Like subletting. I suppose it could
well,
be, couldn't it? Yeah,
subletting's probably
related,
fraud
yeah,
because
you should
you
be doing it.
You're
yeah.
renting it from somewhere, and you're probably saying that you're living there, whereas in fact you're not living there.
No, there's a few things there, yeah.
But, you know, any dishonest or deceptive act, any dishonest act, I could walk out with somebody's handbag, it's dishonest, it's not fraud. You know, if you go down that list, there's a few of them on that list that aren't fraud. Personally, I would think they're not fraud.
In other words, has the legal terms been adhered to see if these actually
I was
are
going to say,
defined as fraud?
do we just need to define the clarity around them, possibly to make sure that they do come under that terms?
Because it's a difference between it's a difference between unfair dismissal or a criminal charge as well. Because obviously if you've been dismissed for fraud, well, I haven't done anything fraudulent in the eyes of the law. But according to our policy you have, therefore they could claim unfair dismissal against you.
So maybe they just need to review, clarify before it goes to the cabinet meeting. If that can just be checked to make sure that they adhere to the
what would be classed as fraud?
Fraud in terms of that.
Just remove what they would see as not, but then maybe he's put a little caveat in. But you could also be what the prosecutor struck lose your employment due to this, or put it into a different section, because obviously you've got bribery and corruption just underneath that.
But it's a fraud policy, so you know other offences are available. Assault and battery is an offence. The TVCM will take it seriously. It's not fraud.
That's a good way of putting it, by the way.
It's a new one.
It's a new one. You can imagine a police officer saying, you know, you can get done, but other offences are available if you want to be done.
Thanks for that. Any other questions or comments? No?
I mean, just to add, this suite of policies was included within some of the outstanding audit actions. So we need these policies in place and we need them reviewed, but it also means that we're delivering on some of the outstanding audit actions as well, which is a good thing.
So once those are checked, then if we can progress with those to cabinet, we're all happy with that approach. Thank you very much.
Quick one on REPA, if I may.
Yes.
We're in that one as well, aren't we?
Yeah.
Page 238. Now that my thing keeps going off if I haven't touched it in the last second or two, but I've noted here. Page 238 I've written down. Number 3 at the bottom should be view, not thy, but now I'm looking for it. I wonder if I've taken the wrong page number down.
I've got 238, it's like a draft copy of something that you would fill in.
It's like the report, isn't it?
That's actually the form that staff would complete. So,
that's the appendix here.
I've maybe taken the wrong page number down here.
Are you looking at the conclusion? Is it on the conclusion page? Because I've written 238, that's 283 also, and I'm on the wrong thing as well. Sorry.
Number 3. Well, look, I thought it should be view, not thy, V-I-E. Can somebody who's cleverer than me do a search in this documentation?
I'll do that search to make sure it's view.
Thank you. Just what I wrote down was page 238, REPA 3, bottom. And I've put a little star next to it, so it might have been a bottom bullet point. It should be view, not thy. Thank you. Sorry about that.
No, thank you very much.
No, we can just do it. Somebody can just do a search and check to see if it's on there. Thanks. Anything else before I move on to the next item? No? Thank you very much for that. Agenda item number 13, the draft annual governance statement. Jeanette, is that yourself?
That is me, Chair. Thank you. So the annual governance statement is produced on an annual basis, and it gives it looks back and gives an overview of the past year, and it also looks forward and mentions work that will be carried out. It is incomplete at the moment because it needs to include the auditor's view, the conclusion of the annual audit report, and it also needs to be updated with Ernst & Young's, EY's conclusions once they complete their work. So it's not quite complete yet, it's still the draft. It was presented to members on the 21st of May, but that meeting was in quorum, so it's come back to you today for more comment. But just to say, there's a huge amount of work reflected in that report, and there are links for each of those areas. So there's a huge amount of evidence in there as well, and it really was quite a Herculean task. I can't take all the credit for it because I only started in January, so it's looking back, but there's a huge amount of progress that's taken place within TBCA.
Thanks for that, Jeanette, and I think it's important just to reflect on the comments that Tom makes in there, that obviously he does stipulate that, you know, we've progressed such a long way, but also acknowledges as an authority that there is still some work to do, which, you know, I think it reflects the position that we all see, but it's just, it is good that some things have moved forward, but there is still some things to do and reflect on in the future. So it's good that we're not just sitting on our laurels thinking everything's okay in that respect, which, you know, Tom's highlighted it within his statement there, which is it's really positive to see that. Any other questions or comments on that one? Like I say, I know we brought it to the last meeting, didn't we? So I think it was just really for ratification. And I think it's basically, was it to move to Cabinet now, Jeanette? Is it? Yes, yeah. Are we all happy for that one to go off to Cabinet? Yeah, thank you very much. So agenda item number 14, which is the work programme. Just get that one up. So that's obviously the scheduled programme for 2026-27. So really it's just to, if there's anything from yourself, Jeanette, on that one, or?
Nothing further to add unless members wish to add more to the work programme.
Yeah, thanks.
No, I think there's plenty there for us all to crack on with, isn't it?
there is certainly a very long list appearing there, isn't there? But yeah, I think it's good that there are actions on there that you can see that are ones that have either been discussed or are coming through, and so I think it's useful to see that some of those arrangements are listed on there as part of that schedule. So thank you. Any comments or anything? No, thank you. Thanks for that.
Sorry, can I
yeah.
Page 286, skills audit and training for committee. How did that go, or is it going? Are you, when you do it, are you going to include subs, or is that too much of a step?
Is this the committees for next week? Sorry, 2 weeks time, something like that?
No, so there was a questionnaire that was sent to all members of this committee.
Oh yes, I remember that, yeah.
What skills they have.
Yes.
So that then we could identify what the gaps were and what kind of training members needed. We've had a limited response, and it may be worth us reissuing that questionnaire if that
was subs asked? I can't remember originally. I know obviously the main committee members, but I don't recall my substitute being asked the same email either. So obviously that's probably the reason why you haven't had it as well.
Yeah. So it's possibly worth
managed to miss it.
Reissuing and just reaffirming that to members then, and making sure that
this is where we were grading how we feel and things like that.
Yeah. No, if we can pick that up, that would be really good.
Especially if substitutes are regularly coming in, because obviously of changes and stuff. But yeah, it might be where I think for
Exactly, Mr. Substitutes as well.
Yes, please. Yeah, I think that would be good, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Because I mean, SIPFA, as you all know, disapproves of having substitutes, but if you're needing substitutes, then it can sort of help with SIPFA's objections by involving them more. And I have to admit that something I've asked for in the past that didn't happen was, you know, as a substitute, to be sent all the committee papers anywhere.
Right.
I'm not saying I'll read every word of every committee paper every time, but it does mean that if we have to substitute, we've got a better idea of what should have gone on.
Yeah. I don't think there's any issue with us doing that, is there, in terms of when the papers go out? I think that would be a fair action, because, like you say, even just for our quality, quite often, you know, it is, you know, substitutes that we're asking them to come, so I think there should be that. And I don't see, I think that is something, and a relevant action that I think could be taken forward. So if we could look to do that, I think that would be useful to certainly any substitute members that need to come
and plus we've got, no doubt we're going to have 2 new members from Hartlepool as well, obviously due to the changes over there that's happened with the recent election, so their input's obviously just as beneficial to everyone else's.
Yeah, no, I think that's valid, thank you. Any other questions or comments on that one? No. So we're up to the risk management update now, aren't we, on 16, agenda item 16. Select yourself. Angela, yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Chair. Okay, I'm loud enough. So, basically I'll take it as read. We're continuing with our strengthening exercise. And you will see that we have added the change in score column as requested. Please bear in mind that this is the period from December 25 to June 26. So a lot of these actions have been updated as per some of the improvements that have happened and been reported through Cabinet earlier in the year, particularly with the strengthening of the governance team, the financial sustainability with the balanced budget and strengthening financial management arrangements. So we will continue to do this and work through. So any questions on the report?
Any questions, anybody?
I'd just like to say it's good to see a scale now where we can actually see things moving up and down. Obviously we are slowly getting some more improvements, but I'm a little bit disappointed that we're still in there's no change regarding the organisation capacity and capability. It's still the same. As everything else is on a downward trajectory, which is always good. It's everything's improving. But apart from that, I must admit though, am I wrong in saying that? Or is this another one? I don't see no bridges.
But there will be no bridges in here, and there will be no bridges in STDC either, because that is a programme, it's not strategic.
Yeah, but usually it's always there at the bottom of the bridges.
It is. And I think it's fair to say on the back of the capacity and capability, what we do is we assess the organisational improvement plan, of which obviously this is quite a big, there's a lot of actions in relation to this, and they start impacting the strategic risk when they're implemented and their effectiveness. So if you look at the trajectory, and I always struggle saying that word, that we're working on behind the scenes, you've got a lot of ones that are, we're looking at getting close to our targets quicker than others, and might even be worth showing that in future reports if that's helpful.
Can I ask then, so obviously I'm looking at the top one, which is the financial sustainability and affordability, and it was 20. How high does the scale go? Is 20 the max, or is it 25? Or?
25. So I have put a little bit of verbiage on the previous page. So we've got a 5x5 matrix on.
Oh yeah, I just see that. Yeah, I missed that. Sorry, I just go for the nice colours.
Yeah, I just added. I just added that on just to let everybody know. So the 5x5 is likelihood versus impact, and so the highest it would go was 25.
Is the target 5 really achievable then?
And that's a very good point. So within the strengthening exercise, we're running a series of workshops with the owners to look at the targets and just revisit the scoring and look at where that target's coming from. Like you say, is it achievable, and what would be the trajectory to get there?
Right. Is there any obviously it's gone down by 4 points since December to now. Obviously that's 6 months. Is it going to take another 2 years even to get sort of close to that target area?
Potentially, because when you look at strategic risk as well, it's inherent.
Yeah.
So there is a possibility that when you go down the tiers and the structure, so we're doing a lot of work on directorate risk at the moment, and then obviously into that you've got your delivery risk within programme project. When you're looking at getting towards them targets, it's much more achievable, and it's faster because you've got set timelines and you've got specific objectives. With strategic risk, there's a number of factors that are influencing. So when you look at them targets, in all honesty, any organisation would show you might never get there.
No,
and
but if we can get close to.
Exactly, and then what we're looking at is our tolerance levels, and so we will be doing. We're looking at a number of workshops later on in the year with both yourself and Cabinet to how looking at them score, looking at the appetite, looking at our tolerance levels.
Is it meet like some type of means testing? Is that what can we do that sort of like stress testing on it?
Yeah, so we've got that later on in the year, and we I think we've got that. It was earlier on in, I think it was the action planning. But like I say, we're doing a number of strengthening activities at the moment. So we're benchmarking other combined authorities, working very closely with NECA, Orange Book guidelines to make sure that we're doing everything and we're doing a very phased approach.
Because I see, obviously you've done a lot of work in other parts of, you've been mentioned quite a lot, you and your team. And obviously as we're starting to slowly complete them things, that's going to allow you more time to get into more of this, because obviously you'll only have so much staffing that you can manage with, because it's a constant thing.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's always moving, isn't it? So as areas progress from down to the 14 actions left to do that you're being involved in, some of them you've been involved in, that'll give you more time to even get these risks down as well.
Yeah, and I think a good point about the internal audit, we've developed a cross-functional team. Because when you look at internal audit, when you look at risk management, all of them audit actions and risks are owned by, they've got accountable owners. So whereas my team provides the framework, the assistance, the training, we like I said, well, not me, but my team micromanage the internal audit piece through. We're moving to more accountability and ownership throughout the org. Well, it's there, but obviously that ownership's there, and then we will be policing it in an effective manner. So when we're looking at capacity, we're not going to be doing the do on all of this. We're just going to be managing and policing, providing the framework and making sure that all of the processes are there for the accountable people to manage.
I just like the idea that we're slowly, it goes back to the old ship analogy I used earlier. It feels like there's change actually happening. It's slowly but surely, we're dragging and kicking and screaming, but we're actually getting there. We're all working, look like we're going in the right direction all together as a complete unit, instead of this doing this, and all like combating a little bit, banging heads together. So I've noticed a marked improvement over the last 12 months massively, and I just hope that it carries on.
Can I just make a point there?
Yes, David.
Going back, I think it's the same risk entry you're looking at, that you're 16, you want to get to a 5, and it is manageable at the moment. But I'm almost pleased to see that sort of perverse way, that you don't feel compelled to target 5 to rate yourselves as. Because at some point somebody looks at it and goes, really? You managed to reduce it by that much? But when your target is here and you're up here, there is that.
Oh yeah, sometimes negativity is a positive action, because obviously you're realising there's still issues at hand and that we are going to be dealing with it. You've got to take everything and just change it into the right context, which obviously that does.
I've seen risk registers where people have
you just don't want to go the opposite.
Scoring. Risk scoring. You think, how have you done that? I mean, going back, on example, treasury management was actually. It was the risk of interest rate changes, and they've managed to reduce the probability of that. I've got somebody sat on the Bank of England. There's not a lot you can do about it, nothing you can do about it. You can manage the impact of it, fix it, etc. So, it's good that you actually look and think, there's nothing we can do about that. Always limited we can do, we've just got to live with it for the time being, as opposed to just reducing it for the sake of it. So I jump in anyway.
And I think it's a really exciting time.
On risk management, sorry.
Well, I'm one of these people that gets excited by risk management, and working in the private sector as well, where people have been very. Everyone sees a risk or an escalation as a personal issue or, a downfall, when it's not. Because for me, it's all about control. And if we're in control and we're recognising and we're dealing and we've got the right processes and frameworks in place, it really is.
I always call it at the beginning of the rabbit hole. You don't know how deep it's going to go, but once you start taking that step, that's the way forward, because you'll end up at the goal at the bottom eventually, but there's a lot of process to get down to that bottom.
And that's your maturity.
Yeah.
Like almost the down of that rabbit hole is where maturity levels are.
Thank you. So I'm just conscious of time, so I think thanks Angela for all the work that the team have done, and just to echo Councillor Morgan's comments, that it does feel like we've moved a long way down that process, so thank you to everybody involved in that. So just going to go back to agenda item number 15, So I think there was just data protection, complaints and freedom of information was on that.
Yeah.
So just to make sure that we've covered that off really in terms of the agenda. So that's page 294 of your packs. So if it was just, if anybody had any questions for Jeanette on that, I don't think we just clarified that one, that was all. So yeah, do you want to
Just to say quickly, and building on the risk report as well, the comments that have been made, you'll notice that we've got a very small number of freedom of information requests, 35 received, which included about 128 questions, compared to last year when at the peak we had 400. So this, and we've also received environmental information requests. None of those were escalated to the Information Commissioner's Office, and we received a letter after this report from the Local Government Social Care Commissioner. No complaints were escalated to that office either. So that suggests that we are making improvements, which I think is a good thing. I just wanted to highlight that.
Yeah, no, I think it's important to note that. Thank you. Yeah.
Can I just add, obviously it's sort of reflected in, when I started in this committee, there was regular questions from the public.
Absolutely, yeah.
And the decrease in them questions has also been reflected on this committee, as well as within the FOIs that have been asked. So that means that we are somewhere on the right track. They'll never admit it, but people are sort of getting to grips with we're actually on facing the right way.
And I think a big part of that has been that where we acknowledge it's that transparency piece, hasn't it? There's a lot of work being done on that in all areas across the organisation, so that what information is out there is published, is accurate, is up to date, isn't it? And I think that's testament to all the organisation as a whole, that there has been more of that transparency, which is what I think people were looking for, and I think that is clear that it is starting to, like people say, to make that impact, isn't it? And you can see it in just from 400 down to what we've got now is a massive change, isn't it? And a massive shift in that mindset as well, which is a really positive step to see as well. So thank you for that.
I just feel, Chair, it's just obviously, I know we're conscious of time, I just want to reiterate that under the current interim stewardship, I would say, with Jeanette and with Joe, it has stabilised quite a lot, and I do hope that whoever takes over their roles continues with that trajectory, because it has been a calming influence. No matter, we've had our ups and downs, but it has been more of a calming influence recently.
Yeah, no, I think it's right. And Jeanette, hopefully, your next steps will be wherever you might be. I'm sure you'll be just as effective in that. And thank you for everything that you've done here, because it's been, like I say, it's been instrumental really in what you've done here. So thank you from our point of view. Thanks. So I think, just going back to the agenda item, I think the only other thing that we had was therefore terms of reference, agenda item number 17, which was just the memorandum of understanding on there. So I think that was just for information, the usual one. Yeah. So does anybody have anything else before we conclude the meeting? Jeanette, yeah, thank you.
Just a quick update. We've got some training for members. We've got an external trainer called Bethan Evans. She's absolutely brilliant, and she's the expert on code of conduct training and standards, national expert. We've got an in-person session on the 6th of July, and then we've got an online session with her on the 10th of July, and on the 9th of July we've got an opportunity for members to meet and have an induction with all of the directors, and that's in person as well. So just some dates for your diary, and if you miss any of that and you want an update, please contact me or Elaine and we'll share the details with you.
Just round the corner.
Sorry, can you read those dates out again, please?
Yeah. 6th of July.
6th of July, not
Yeah.
16th. 6th.
Number 6.
I'm coming to the one on the 6th of July, the in-person one. I think it's better in person.
Yeah, that's in person, but it's repeated on the 10th of July, and you can use a Teams link.
Right.
And you can come to both if you like. And then on the 9th of July, we have an in-person session with all of the directors, including me.
Is your successor going to be there as well?
Andrew Perriman, I'm not sure.
It would be good
Yeah.
to have a little bit of
Sure.
a meet and greet with him, especially taking
It
over
would.
your role.
Yeah, I'll make a note of that.
Can I just check, Elaine, has that gone out to substitutes those dates, you know, as well?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, so everybody's got them,
I'll
yeah.
double check.
Yeah, if we can just make
sure.
sure, yeah, just in
Almost
case.
certain.
Yeah,
That helps
yeah.
we have, 'cause
That's it, all right,
Got them,
yeah,
fab.
that's great, thank you very much, thank you.
I've had some TVCA dates,
Yeah.
so I'm not sure if it's those ones or something else.
No, that's absolutely fine, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, thank you very much for everybody, and apologies we have run over slightly, but I do appreciate everybody staying in the time that they've given extra there. I think it was just important to get everything concluded from the last meeting today, so it has been that little bit longer, but thank you for everybody's input. It is really important at the meeting so that we get that, and thanks for some really useful questions today. So thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you. Really good meeting.